Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I am your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 85 of the 411 on Wrestling Podcast. You can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, and any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to the show, share us around on social media, and if you have time, leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choice. Joining me today, we have a first-time guest. If you follow 411, he is a reviewer. He always reviews NXT every week. He used to review the Monday Night Wars. He pops in for various other things. Kevin Pantoja, what's up, buddy?
Nothing much. It's good to be here. I've always been interested in getting involved on, podcasts, so it's good to be on.
Yeah, it is. It's good to have you on. I like trying to mix it up every once in a while. And Kev, I know you have a Twitter and you have a Patreon. So why don't you? I don't want to forget. Why don't you get that plug out of the way first?
Oh, well, awesome. I was hoping to plug it. The Twitter is at the Kevsta. That's the KEVSTAAA. 3 A's. That's important. And the Patreon is the same thing, patreon.com/the_Kevsta. I'm doing exclusive reviews there you can't get anywhere else. Random top 10 lists. I do movie reviews there, analysis of old shows, just all sorts of wrestling, mostly wrestling things, a few movie things in there as well.
So if you like Kevin's work on 411 and you enjoy him on the podcast, let us know, let him know, throw him a little support if you have some extra money, and that's always a good thing. But yeah, I'm excited to have you on, Kev. I mean, a lot of the time we review a lot of the same stuff on the site and you off the site especially too. So, we get into that grind, and I do want to ask you real quick. A lot of people always ask me, like, because I know you do a lot of stuff. Yeah. And a lot of people are always like, how do you stay motivated to review a lot of stuff? And for me, the first thing that comes to mind these days is Wednesday nights. Because Wednesday nights are just, for me, it's like the best night of the week.
It certainly is. We haven't had this since the 90s. And even then, if you go back and watch some of those Raw and Nitros, they're not always great. No. But I feel like even since it's been NXT versus Dynamite, even the worst episodes of those shows are still good. So it's constantly high quality things.
Exactly. And for me, that's, I get kind of amped up. I can be tired Wednesday morning and then I realize, hey, it's Wednesday. It's like, at the very worst, I'm going to get 2 good shows. There's a high probability I may get 2 great shows. Mm-hmm. So I get excited because, and that's the thing too, is like we jokingly call it the Wednesday Night War, man. But I mean, seriously, I keep trying to tell people, you don't have to pick a side. And,
you don't.
And the other thing too is, here's the thing, you don't always have to watch both shows. Because like Kevin and I review stuff, and if you guys don't have 4 hours, pop in. We will gladly tell you what the worthy stuff is. Like, we'll tell you what's worth your time. We'll tell you what segments aren't good, like, Brandy Rhodes and the Nightmare Collective.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll tell you all the matches that are worth your time. And if you only have an hour, you can hit the good stuff and get in and out and be happy. That's all you have to do.
Honestly, we don't always see eye to eye on things, No, but you have saved me so many hours of like 205 Live episodes, like the recent ones.
And I hate that, though, because I used to love, and I know you did too, I used to love that show so much.
Arya Davari, the bane of your existence.
Him and the Sings, brother, when they stack them up back to back on those shows.
Like, I'm cool with the Singh brothers in their 24/7 capacity where they can be funny, but yeah.
But yeah, it's good times, and that's also the fun of reviewing stuff, dude, is like you said, we don't always fully agree on stuff. There are times where we're perfectly eye for eye, and then there's times where we're both like, no, I like something more than you, or you like something more than me, vice versa, whatever it is. But I think that's the cool thing about it, and I also think that's great when we're both reviewing stuff on the site, because someone may like mine and not like yours, or they may love yours and hate mine, so it doesn't really matter. You get a difference of opinion, and that's all.
That's why I always, I find it kind of funny when people get so angry in the comment section. It's like, we're just stating our opinions and giving analysis, You don't have to agree with us. We're not saying we're automatically right.
Exactly, and that's just the thing. It's we're just trying to, like, I talked about, and I got to talk with Sports Illustrated this week, which was cool. And I kind of look at myself, it's like I am not better than anybody else. I kind of look at myself as a guide. I try to be as honest as possible. I try to tell everybody the good stuff. That's why I like doing my match of the month stuff, because not everybody can watch as much stuff as me. Because this is my job. So it's like, I'm just trying to tell people what the good stuff is, and because like time is precious for everybody, man. And that's
very true.
So, but
that's why I had to dump some. I had to stop. When I did my top 100 matches list years ago, I included Noah and Lucha Underground in progress, and now I have a more demanding job, and I had to cut things out. So time is it's hard to get.
It is, man. So, I mean, but we're going to talk about, we got some good stuff to talk about tonight. It was a busy WWE weekend. We had Worlds Collide taking the place of NXT TakeOver this weekend and the Royal Rumble, obviously. And just first of all, before we get deep into the Worlds Collide show, which is what we'll start with, do you think this was a viable experiment that they can carry on with in the future?
I think so. I guess like the toughest part is probably just flying everybody in for these shows, for like a one night thing. Like they flew Undisputed Era to take over Blackpool just to do a run in. But in general, I think that they have enough talent to do it. Like talent is nowhere near WWE's problem. Their roster is stacked. And it makes for some fun matches. Like the matches we got on this entire card of Worlds Collide, other than Rhea Tony, were all fresh.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, some good stuff to talk about. Anyway, we're going to start with Worlds Collide. Pre-show match was the NXT UK Women's Champion Kaylee Ray defeating Mia Yim 9:30. Kev, your thoughts first, man.
I think this was a good match. Very good way to start the show. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel or do anything over the top. They had a good straight match for 10 minutes. I do think that Kaylee Ray is super underrated. She was probably my War Games MVP. She took bumps from everybody. I liked aggressive. Mia Yim, she was like very aggressive throughout, and I thought that was good. But she threw some really weird looking punches in the match that it just felt like way out of place. I like the finish with the cheap win. It's overdone, but it works in some cases. I like Kaylee Ray stealing the finisher, Eat the Feet, because I'm pretty sure she stole Tony's move at one point, or Piper Niven. I could be wrong.
Yeah, she stole Tony's move, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of like that. I hope that's like her gimmick. She never hits the swanton, but she steals your finisher. But yeah, overall, good match.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, especially for a pre-show match. Good match. They got a nice amount of time, which is nice. They have a history working together and against each other, so I thought they played well off of each other. And again, maximized the minutes. They made good use of the time, and they got the crowd into it too, which was important because, unfortunately, not everybody from the NXT UK brand had that same success on this card because the running joke is NXT UK is not an actual promotion that anybody watches.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a figment of our imaginations.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah,
us two and Ian.
That's right. But yeah, definitely a good match, a nice little start to things, and that led to the main card, Finn Balor versus Ilya Dragunov, and you were talking about how everything on this card except for the women's title match later was a fresh match. This was definitely a fresh first-time match. I know a lot of people were looking forward to it because... I think everybody expects at least a quality to very good performance from Finn. Yeah. But Ilya is a guy that a lot of regular WWE or NXT fans probably haven't seen a lot of. So unless you're digging into NXT UK and you saw some great matches with Alexander Wolf, or you've dug into Progress or WXW and all these other places where he's been, this is probably your first time seeing him. And I think the crowd reaction kind of mimicked that because everybody was obviously happy to see Finn because Finn's a star. And then they're like, who the fuck is this Russian dude?
Literally, I watched that match with my girlfriend. She's a big Finn Balor fan. Go figure. And she saw Dragunov, and she's like, what the hell is this? Like, he looked terrifying.
But Finn won. I think everybody expected. Finn has a big match coming up with Gargano, so he won 13:55. I thought it was a very good match. Balor, I thought he was really giving overall. He tried to give as much to Dragunov to allow him to shine before he had to lose. because we all knew Finn was winning, so I thought it was important that Ilya got to look good. And especially in front of a bigger audience than the NXT UK crowds, because not just the crowd in general, but the viewership overall, because I'm sure more people watch Worlds Collide than your average NXT UK.
For sure.
It was definitely an uphill battle at times to get the crowd into it. But, I mean, I thought it was very good, and it wasn't, I think some people might have had a little higher ceiling for it, hope-wise, but I don't think it disappointed at all. But, and they, again, fighting that crowd was really difficult, but I thought it was really good.
Yeah, agreed. Like you said, Finn was very giving. I really liked the spot where they had like a little exchange and he went for the Pele, and Dragunov kind of like, they put a twist on that, like he's blocked it or caught it, I think it was. I also liked when Dragunov did his like coast to coast drop kick and Finn was draped over the ropes. It looked realistic, and that's important to me because I hate when people, hold the ropes in place or hold onto the ropes so they can get hit with the double stomp or something. It looks
that trio double stomp in the corner.
Yeah, or something like that. Finn was draped and his like arm was on the mat, so it came off more realistic, and I appreciated that. I have been liking Finn as a heel. He had extra snap or like bite to his offense on this, and I thought that was very important. But yeah, really good hard hitting match. Pretty much exactly what I wanted. It wasn't a blowaway match, but it was very good.
Yeah, and hopefully Ilya is a guy that they have some good designs on in NXT UK, because I would love to see him built up for a match with Walter, because I think that'd be really great on a takeover.
To me, it seems like that's where they're headed. I don't know if that's what their plan is for Mania weekend. If the UK gets a title match on that on regular takeover like they did last year with Walter Dunn, but I feel like Walter Dragunov is the way to go.
I agree. So we had a short interview segment in between matches here as the Grizzled Young Vets and Bruiserweights were in the crowd. They announced that the winner of their match not only wins the Dusty Cup on Wednesday, but will earn a tag team title shot at TakeOver Portland, which I think most of us expected, but obviously good to know and have it confirmed. And yeah, it was fun because Zach Gibson he's such a douche.
He's a heat magnet.
Yeah, and I mean that in the best way possible, obviously.
Absolutely.
He really is. And then, like, Riddle is just fucking Matt Riddle. We all know what Matt Riddle is. And he's so just over the top and hamming it up. And he's talking about how, they need to chill out. And he's like, you guys need to understand that we're going to beat you. And my bro, Pete Dunne, has the biggest smile on his face right now, ear to ear. And if you know Pete Dunne has the Pete Dunne face. He's just standing there.
And then Matt Riddle's reaction when Pete Dunne's like, I'm just going to be blunt here. And Matt Riddle's like, yeah, he said blunt.
So, and it's fun because, again, Zach is a great douche and Riddle is hilarious. And the way him and Pete play off of each other is a lot of fun. Do
you think the Bruiserweights win the Dusty Cup?
I mean, if I'm booking and looking to have a great takeover match, yeah. I mean, I don't think the Grizzled Young Vets are bad by any means. But
no, not at all.
If I'm looking to have the best tag match possible, it's the Bruiserweights. And I wouldn't be surprised if that opens the takeover, because how many times have we seen Undisputed Era have a banger of an opener on a takeover?
They've mastered that, whether it's the Viking Raiders, whether it's Danny Burch and Only Lorcan, like they've mastered that spot.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly a lot. I know you and your reviews as well. I mean, they're so good. Probably, I think, the best tag team last year overall in terms of what I got to see. I didn't see everything, obviously.
Yeah.
I love those guys a lot, and it's just... They're like the most reliable thing, because if you put them in a tag match on a takeover, you can generally pencil in 4 stars and then go from there.
And what's even better is the fact that, it's a case where they're so seamless. Like when Fish was out and Roddy was in, they were putting on, great matches every time out, Roddy and Kyle.
Yeah, and the other thing, and that to go to Roddy, and we'll talk about him too in the main event, I look at Roddy as somebody that is almost underappreciated, because for the past 10 years, you can put him up there with the top workers as far as delivering top-tier matches with different opponents.
I literally wrote that down.
Yeah, I mean, I look at him, when I see a Roddy Strong singles match, I get excited like when I get excited for a Big Tom Ishii match.
Yeah.
Because they can work well with a wide variety of opponents, and they always deliver. And those are two guys, you look over the last... Ishii, I'd say the last 7 years solidly, but overall, the last 10 years between those two, you can't really go wrong. Roddy had that slightly lazy time in ROH when he got contracted, Roddy, after that really good Evolve run. But otherwise, I mean, but he didn't do anything bad. It was just the guys he was facing, you know, so...
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. It's like, other than that stretch, I can go back to when I used to go to Ring of Honor shows live in 06 and 07 in New York, and he was with the No Remorse Corps and constantly, like, he was great then, and he's somehow, like, even much, like, he's way better now, I feel like, and that's insane for someone who was so good and is 13 years older.
Yeah, and the thing that's scary about Roddy is, and, like, Roddy was, don't get me wrong, he was never fat, but Roddy, when he,
oh my God.
when he got in shape, though, and became like a fucking cardio freak. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jesus Christ.
All bets were off.
Yeah, I mean, so good, though. So we had our first title match of the evening up next, Kev. Champion Angel Garza, Swerve Scott, Jordan Devlin, Travis Banks for the Cruiserweight Championship. And we had a gloriously pleasant surprise. I don't know if you'll agree, but Jordan Devlin won the match, defeating Garza, Scott, and Travis Banks 12:30 via pin. First of all, I thought they would probably just go chalk here and have the champion retain. But I was hoping that Devlin would win. Because he's a guy that... He's been really good in NXT UK, obviously, but his best work has honestly been outside of WWE. Mm-hmm. And he's a guy that I keep looking at, and I'm like, how are you not using this guy more? And for him to win here, I loved it. I thought they had a great kind of sprint-style match. I thought Travis Banks actually looked really good in here because he's a guy that I think out of the four was really overlooked going in because it's like,
certainly.
No offense. I mean, he's compared to the others, like Scott has the indie cred. Garza's kind of like the new toy everybody's really getting into. Devlin, as we spoke about, is awesome. And Travis Banks is, for the most part, he's a good performer that doesn't get a lot of run in NXT UK.
Yep.
But I thought he was awesome in this match. I didn't expect the title change. I loved it. I hope Devlin gets to shine on a bigger stage. I kind of hope he keeps the title for a while. Maybe gets a takeover match coming up. But yeah, I love this, Kev. I thought it was great.
I pretty much echo your statements there. Actually, I looked at it, and our reviews for World Collide are pretty on par, like every match. I agree. I think the title change was a great move. I feel like, as great as Devlin is, they made the decision after they saw his match with Bate at Blackpool, and they were like, we got to get this guy a title. He's really good.
Probably. I mean, yeah. You can't blame him because that performance, that was an excellent match.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like, I feel like that's the thing with the NXT UK guys. Like, even Tyler Bate, he'll have a, killer match, and then you kind of forget about him for a few weeks or months, and then it's like, oh, yeah, Tyler Bate's back, and he's really good.
Well, it's kind of a shame that happens, though, because these guys are excellent.
Yeah, and it's Tyler Bate's 22 or 23. Like, that's insane.
It is. It astounds me. Him and Dunn are both like 25 and under. It's just like it's insane because theoretically, unless something drastically goes wrong, like Tyler Bate is only going to get better. That's
unbelievable to think.
And it's not like we kind of joked about Roddy, like the chubby days, people like to mock Roddy, but it's not like Tyler Bate even needs to get in shape or like fix that part of his game. He's just like a fucking prodigy at this point.
He is. It's like we thought, when he won the UK title at 19, it was like, this guy's a prodigy, and then it's just gotten better and better.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to find words to say about guys like him and Devlin, man. I mean, yeah, I saw so much great stuff from Devlin last year, and I'm just happy he's getting a shot. And he did a quick deal after the match, proclaiming his greatness. So respect the Irish Ace, everybody.
Yeah, back to just the match itself, like you said, very good. Tons of crazy spots. It was basically a glorified spot fest, but I'm okay with those. Like, don't overdo them, but that sometimes I just want to see 4 athletic guys do wild shit. Like I said, the result was a surprise, hell of a match. I really am interested in how they pull this off because it is the NXT Cruiserweight title, but now it's on NXT UK. So I'm interested. Like, does Devlin work more Full Sail now? Does he defend the title? They're on the tapings in NXT UK. I'm very interested in what they do there.
I am too. I hope he gets a good run with it because I think that's a guy you just... Like, I'm not a big add a title to promotions guy, but, like, I kept looking at him and Ilya, and I'm like, those are guys you could make a case for a secondary title in NXT UK, because those are guys you need to do stuff with.
Yeah, and it feels like Walter's not losing the title anytime soon. So
exactly. So yeah, I love the Devlin win. Pleasantly surprised, glad to be wrong.
Also, just a quick note, I do, like, as much as I like that Devlin won the title, I would have liked Angel Garza to get a longer run. Like, he's been really enjoyable. So maybe, hopefully, he doesn't, fade into obscurity now.
Yeah, again, like you said, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle things, because, yeah, maybe Jordan comes over and works some more NXT proper and, and stuff like that. I kind of want him on 205 Live because I want to see a good match, but at the same time, I'm like, just don't book him versus, like, Daivari.
I was about to say, are you ready for the best of 7? Jordan Devlin versus Daivari?
Oh, God. I've had a rough enough time watching Tyler Breeze trying to drag him to enjoyable matches.
Oh, poor Tyler Breeze.
Yeah. So, next up was, I think, pretty much everybody's most anticipated match on the card. DIY versus Mustache Mountain. The lads got 23 minutes. DIY won, Kev. I will go to you first for your thoughts, sir.
That was some spectacular tag team wrestling. Just watching the opening exchange between, like, Tyler Bate and Johnny Gargano, I need that match, singles match, like, right now. Yes. Someone go book that immediately. And I was watching it and I thought about it, and I'm like, I feel like these are my two, like, the two wrestlers that impressed me the most over the past few years. Like, they've had so many stellar matches. I would love to see them against each other. They did a great job of, like, mixing in the obvious, great stuff that we're used to from them and the tag team wrestling, and with some of the funny moments, like Trent Seven having the flex off with Tommaso Ciampa and just immediately giving up, like, yeah, I'm not going to win this. I like Johnny Gargano doing Ciampa's taunt with him. So, a sweet moment for them. I loved toward the end when DIY went for the meeting in the middle and they did Bop and Bang. Like, just really creative things that these guys did together, and probably my second favorite match of the year so far, behind Ospreay Hiromu. But yeah, I can't gush enough about this match.
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited for this match. Like, within the span of a week, there were 2 tag team matches announced that I was super excited for. This was the one, and then ROH announced Mexa Blood versus the Briscoes. And I love tag team wrestling, so I'm like, yes. I'm like so excited. So, yeah, I love this match. I mean, I love the playful beginning because they worked to get the crowd invested through that. Plus, I thought it was smart because it was kind of a buffer after the, for lack of a better word, the spotty cruiserweight match. And there's nothing wrong with that because sometimes you need to have variety on a card. As long as it's not every match, there's nothing wrong with that. And those were the right 4 guys to do it with. So I thought it was like a good buffer from that. And from there, I thought they did a really beautiful job of escalating the action all throughout. They got the crowd into it big time. I thought DIY, I mean, for as much as they haven't been together, those guys just don't miss a beat. Mustache Mountain are fucking great. And they just did a ton of little things, from basic saves to miscommunication spots to cutoffs. I love Papa Trent Seven trying to protect Tyler Bate on the meeting in the middle spot. Yeah. Because, like, those guys they do such a great job of pulling emotion into a match. And I say this all the time. I think Trent Seven gets greatly overlooked because he's not Tyler Bate and because he's not Pete Dunne.
Absolutely.
Trent Seven is a really good pro wrestler. He does all the little things well. He does storytelling well. He brings emotion into a match. So I loved him throwing his body in there to save him. Just those little things. And then, like you said, that led to the Bop and Bang spot. And overall, tremendous piece of business. Beautiful tag team wrestling. And this was my match of the show. Absolutely loved it. And I just, God, I fucking love tag team wrestling when it's done like this, Kev. Just so good.
Yeah, like, I remember, I think I've talked about it with NXT. Like, 2014 was the year where they had, like, really good NXT title matches with Zayn and Neville. And then 2015 was all the great women's matches, Becky, Sasha Bailey. And then, like, in 2016, the Revival came along, and American Alpha, and then AOP and Sand. Like, they just had great tag team wrestling. I thought it was just going to be like that year, like the other things, but they just kept it going. They've had DIY, Sanity. Like, there's just been so many, Undisputed Era, Aleister Black and Ricochet. Like, this, it's like nonstop great tag team wrestling in NXT.
Yeah, and speaking of the tag team, we talked about the Broserweights earlier. I mean, I'm not surprised because both guys individually are really good, but are you somewhat surprised that they've gelled so well so quickly? Because it makes me feel like Aleister Black and Ricochet, because those guys came together out of nowhere and had a bunch of fucking bangers, and now we're seeing the same. And yeah, I mean, they're great individuals, but not everybody can adapt to a tag team wrestling like that, man.
Yeah, it does feel like it's surprising. It should be on paper, but I kind of came into it expecting it because we've seen it from Alistair and Ricochet, and to a lesser extent, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe in the first Dusty. It's like these makeshift tags, and granted, Joe and Balor weren't on this level, but like Alistair and Ricochet on paper, that team should not work. You got the high flying like superhero guy, and then basically the devil. Like, how does that work? And now you got like, it's so hilarious every week when the Broserweights come out and Pete Dunne angrily walks to the ring while Matt Riddle's music is playing.
Exactly.
Like it cracks me up. But they're 2 matches in and they've had 2 bangers.
Yeah, and I just love, like, every time Riddle does something ridiculous, Pete Dunne just does that little, like, Yano shrug. And he's just like, yeah, whatever, dude, it's all right. We're
like,
here.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Like, they even got their entrance, like, perfect with the he throws off his sandals and then they pose together. I'm like, these guys, they've been teaming for years.
It is, and it's so great to see. And it is a really fun dynamic. So, yeah, I really hope they win the Dusty Cup and face Undisputed, because that just is so good on paper.
And it's not like they have anything else lined up for TakeOver. It gets those 2 guys on TakeOver. Grizzly Young Vets can, go back to the UK for, and do some stuff there. Like, they don't have to be on the TakeOver card, but these guys do, so.
They don't want to go back to the UK because that means they're going to have to feud with Dallas.
That's true.
All right.
Keep the titles for some reason.
Next up, we had the NXT Women's Championship match. Champion Rhea Ripley versus Toni Storm. Rhea Ripley defeated Toni at 10:15 via pin. And the first thing I thought was they were put in a really difficult position after that tag match. I really would have put this on before the tag match. That is like my one like main criticism of the card. I think normally NXT overall and Hunter and them do a really good job of card layout, but I would have flipped this one because I think everybody knew at the very least DIY and Mustache Mountain was probably going to be great. Yeah. So you're putting Rhea and Toni in a position that's really difficult, and Toni Storm, for as much as she looks like a star and there was high hopes, hasn't exactly wowed in singles action.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that she's been bad by any means, but it's just she hasn't had like a lot of greatness to her. So I thought it was a good match, kind of physical. But again, it suffered from, I think, Toni never really feeling like a legit threat to me. She kind of continues to struggle overall in WWE in terms of those big wins. Wouldn't be surprised of a heel turn coming. Again, not bad. I thought it was like low level good and the weakest thing on the card.
Yeah. A few things. First, I do want to say that this reminded me of, there was a stretch, I feel like, in 2018 where Shayna Baszler matches always had to follow Velveteen Dream matches. And I was like, that poor woman just has to keep following these great matches. And that's what this reminded me of. 2, I love Toni Storm, but I do agree with you. She hasn't had that like standout match. I've seen her have great matches before. She has some bangers in progress. I remember her and Laura Di Matteo having a really good match. Her and Io Shirai and in Stardom. But it hasn't felt like it's clicked as well as it should have. And I wrote down, like when I was looking into my review for that show, I've been waiting for Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm to have that great match together. They're both very good, but all like 4 of their matches now have been just, between average and good. I did like, Toni felt a little more aggressive on certain things than she, which makes sense considering she's desperate to be champion again. That's kind of the story they're going with. But then that finish kind of came out of nowhere. It was like she missed the frog splash and then fell to Riptide, and it was anticlimactic, and it kind of just died. And like you said, she never felt like a threat. So yeah, just a good match. It wasn't bad by any means, but it fell way short of everything else on the show. The last thing that I want to mention is that before this match, we had the Dakota Kai Tegan Knox segment.
Yeah, I was going to go back to that.
Okay.
No, and I like this too because, they were doing the normal NXT stars in the crowd shot, and Dakota Kai was there, and Tegan Nox came out and started to kick the shit out of her.
Mm-hmm.
And they brawled ringside till security pulled them apart, and I thought this was a really nice payoff to the usual, hey, there's an NXT person in the crowd.
Such a good use of it.
Exactly, because we always see that, and we've never had this, and it works perfectly because they are facing off Wednesday night, so it was a nice little last-minute build to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to play it, like our expectations. We've been watching wrestling, most of us, for, 20, 30 years, so you got to try something new to get us, like, thrown off.
Exactly. So, I mean, I have no problem with, I love little things like that. And again, good use of time because it didn't go long. It's not like they had like a 4-minute brawl that felt like it lasted forever. Just a really good, aggressive little brawl, quick pull apart, yelling at each other.
Crowd was hot for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's good stuff. And again, it's nice to mix things up. Before the main event, they were backstage. Finn Balor attacked Johnny Gargano, beat the shit out of him. Tyler Bate made the save. So it looks like we may be teasing Tyler Bate and Finn at some point, which I am not opposed to that.
Absolutely not. It feels like that's something that, as great as it sounds, it's going to be like a weekly NXT. Like, I don't think it's going to be a takeover thing, at least not yet. I'm assuming they work Wednesday night or something. So, they're like, you can go watch Dynamite, or you can watch Finn Balor versus Tyler Bate.
Yeah. And hey, you know what? If they're on Wednesday, that's fine, as long as they get the time,
absolutely.
Man.
Yeah, I'm not. I didn't mean that as a complaint. Like, I'm all for that. Like, give me great wrestling on Wednesday, Saturday, like whatever day.
And that led to the main event. The dominant factions of both brands, Imperium facing off with Undisputed Era. Before we get into it, obviously the big talking point was early in the match. Poor Alexander Wolf, the Hatchet Man, got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, he was. You could, the second it happened, you're like, that's not right. Like, he looks out of it.
Yeah, because they did, there was a little double team deal. He got kicked in the face, and he was on his knees, and he stiffened up right away.
Yeah,
and like he didn't do like the kick in the face and then slump down sell. I mean, he got kicked and was just like kind of upright, and you could see the lights were on, but nobody was home.
It was like he wanted to go down, but his body was like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do here. And it just got kind of stuck in the middle, and he got pinned, and you could tell he didn't really kick out, but they had to make it look like it.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I thought Drake did a great fucking job of realizing what happened.
He's fantastic.
He is, and he got him the hell out of there really quick. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, great job in realizing it. Obviously, very unfortunate, but I'm glad that they handled it properly, because how many times have we seen a possible concussion or an injury in a match, and then it's just like the referee has no clue what to do?
Remember the struggle to get Liv Morgan out of the ring when Brie Bella hurt her?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, please get that woman out of the ring.
Yeah, that's one of the extreme circumstances. That's actually a great example, and that's just, they just tried to continue on with spots there. But yeah, Drake was, and then like not only that, poor Bobby Fish.
Yeah, he looked shaken.
Yeah, he looked like he felt like he was the biggest piece of shit in the world. Mm-hmm. Because, and I'm not saying but what I'm saying is he looked like horrified that he hurt someone. Yeah,
like you could tell that's somebody who takes, being safe in the ring seriously, because, he looked distraught that he had done that. And poor Alexander Wolf, he has the worst luck. He got knocked out here. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, in that first War Games match with Sanity, he had like a real bad cut.
Yeah, he took a big bad cut on the back of his head.
Yeah, so it's like he gets these big, group matches, and it just, something, unfortunate happens.
So that was the unfortunate part of the match. The good news is they carried on. Imperium defeated Undisputed Era. They went around 30 minutes. Obviously, the first thing, again, it sucks that Wolf got hurt. I totally hate that, but credit to Drake for getting him out of there, and credit to the other 7 guys, because they overcame a big handicap, because they had to carry on with the rest of the match, one person down. They had to turn it into a handicap match, which was obviously not the plan. Everybody's a fucking pro here. I mean, we talk about Walter being great, Adam Cole's great, Fish and O'Reilly are great, Roddy Strong is just a fucking general in there. Mm-hmm. Eichner and Barthel also really good, but everybody I felt really picked up their game. And I mean, if you would have told somebody, like if you would have started after the concussion or knockout spot and just showed them the match, you would have thought it was a handicap match, and it was booked that way.
Yeah, it's actually like phenomenal. Like it's amazing that you have a guy go out in the first like 3 minutes of the match, and you're able to pivot, and you have to assume that completely changed their layout and still put on something as good as they did.
Exactly. And that kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, like when Fish got hurt and Roddy had to step in for tag matches, and like Undisputed Era didn't miss a beat, and that was everybody in this match.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't praise these guys enough. So again, total pros here. I thought the interactions played really well, especially like between the tag teams and Walter versus Cole and Strong at various points. I like that they didn't overdo Walter and Cole. They had good interactions, but they didn't like blow through it or anything. I thought everybody got time to shine. I thought Walter looked like an absolute beast. The crowd treated him like a big deal. Like when he came out, they were into him. And then throughout the match, they were into him when he went into beast mode at the end. And again, I thought it was great. I can't praise the guys enough for carrying on after that injury spot because it was really unfortunate. And I've seen so much wrestling, and I've seen an injury happen and things just fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to, and I can understand when it falls apart too, just because it is so difficult to completely change something when you have such a plan. But the fact that they were able to improvise and put on something as great as they did, like you said, Walter felt like a really big fucking deal. Everything that he did, the crowd ate up. And I really like that we got to see him kind of as the babyface. Like he had the hot tag, and it's a role that I'm not used to seeing him in, but it really worked. And it's not as big of a deal, but I loved Roderick Strong just going chop for chop with him.
Oh, like, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, like as someone whose introduction to Roddy was him like making Bryan Danielson at the time's chest bleed through chops. Like it's good that they still are like Roddy can hang with him in this department.
Exactly, and it was a ton of fun, and I want everybody to realize just like how good these guys are for covering after that injury spot. I think that's just really important, and not a lot of people are going to really talk about it. They're just like, oh, it was a good and fun match, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, that's overcoming a big obstacle because I'm sure they had certain things laid out. They obviously had to change course. Really liked it, and it was great to see Walter get that really big reaction. And I think some people overblew it a little bit, but I understand why people were a little worried because of Survivor Series, because he had that like 3-minute run and people felt it like marginalized him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, I get that. And it is a shame that he didn't get like a better run there, but he came off like a star here. Now, I guess the other thing before we finish up with Worlds Collide is they announced that William Regal's going to announce Adam Cole's TakeOver opponent Wednesday night.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, that is. I think that might have been in the post thing with Triple H on Facebook. Or whatever.
Might have been.
Yeah, so I mean, they're gonna announce the winner or the opponent for Cole at TakeOver. Are we going Ciampa right away, or is that WrestleMania weekend? Do you think they may pull the trigger on Cole and Walter? What are you thinking?
Honestly, this is one of the few times that it really seems so interesting because there's not an obvious match. I feel like Ciampa's the way to go because he's next. I know that could be the Mania weekend one. Maybe they go for like Cole retains on some, shenanigans or something, and then they do, I don't know, like a multi-man gimmick with Finn and Johnny and Ciampa at Mania. I don't know. I don't think Cole loses it here either way. I feel like it's got to be Ciampa because I don't think you book him against Walter because he's not gonna. You don't want him to beat Walter. I can't really think of many other options. Keith Lee's North American champion now. So you cannot. Dijakovic's not heated up. He's not hot enough right now. So
yeah, I've been trying to think about it because it's like obviously, yeah, you don't want him to beat Walter because you don't want either of those guys to lose right now.
Yeah,
and Ciampa would definitely be a safe call. Because you could do that match, and as you said, you could do some kind of shenanigans-filled finish, and maybe you get a stipulation match, cage match, something at TakeOver.
Yeah.
So you could definitely rematch. Like, my first thought was Ciampa's the Mania weekend opponent, and obviously he still may be because they could still go that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's him. I'd be kind of shocked if it's Walter. And like you said, like nobody else is heated up. I don't see them really. I mean, obviously, nobody from the main roster is going to drop down, I don't think, for a title match. I mean, they did say, I guess Regal said it was going to be big, so maybe I'm wrong. Or maybe it's something like, I don't know, maybe Velveteen Dream returns and he gets tossed in.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dream is an option if he's healthy. It's kind of ridiculous that NXT's been so good over the past few months without Dream. Like I thought he was gonna be the War Games partner instead of Kevin Owens.
Yeah, and again, that just goes back, and you've talked about it, and I've talked about it, and Jeremy and I, Steve Cook, talked about it. I mean, the NXT roster, period, is ridiculously deep. The overall, like, WWE women's roster, ridiculously deep at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the overall WWE roster as a whole, too. I mean, there's just... In my opinion, it's like there's no room to put on average like pay-per-views or special events in 2020 with this roster because
Agreed. And I'm one who I feel like I'm more of a WWE. I sound like Lana, WWE defender than most people. Because I do kind of understand. Like I know everybody wants their like certain people to get pushed because this roster's loaded, and it's almost impossible to push everybody because the whole roster's talented. But I do see the other side of it too. Like you don't really have room to put on really bad like cards because you have too much talent for that. Like when you put on a bad card, it's like it's hard to put on a bad card with some of these, with this roster.
Exactly. And honestly, I mean, when I look at it a lot of the time, honestly, I think the biggest problem they run into is sometimes these shows have way too, obviously not Worlds Collide because that was a tight 3-hour show with the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into some of these bigger pay-per-views, you have a really long run time with the pre-show. And then a lot of the time for me, it's the booking that gets in the way. It's usually never the talent.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because there's just too many damn good people on this roster.
Like even, one of the main guys who gets so much flack all the time is Baron Corbin. And I understand why, but it's like if Baron Corbin's left on his own, he's had some good matches. His King of the Ring run was really good. I remember him and Kalisto had the only good chairs match, I think, in history.
Yes, the only good chairs match. I will agree with you on there. I give Baron Corbin a fair amount of shit, but he did have a good King of the Ring run. The only thing that was bad about that is, like, that tricked a lot of people into the, like, all of a sudden, and, like, I'm not trying to dog Baron Corbin, but, like, he had a really good King of the Ring run and some really good matches with Chad Gable. And, I mean, no offense, I have one leg, and I could probably have a good match with Chad Gable.
That's fair. He is Chad Gable.
Exactly. I mean, and that's nothing to do with me. But it's just like, he had the really good King of the Ring run, and all of a sudden these weird narratives came out that Baron Corbin has always been an excellent in-ring talent. It's like, pump the brakes a little bit. And like
I'm not.
Like you said, when Baron is kind of left to his own devices, there's not a lot of overbooking. He's shown that he can have quality wrestling matches.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's, like you said, like I'm not agreeing with that narrative. I'm not saying he's some excellent guy that's going to give you, great matches every week. But he can be, quality, like mid-card heel who can do his thing and have, relatively entertaining things. It's the constant overbooking, the dog food, the fact that he was, like, it's hard to, like, granted, we hate Baron Corbin and, he's doing good heel work. But when he was the focal point of 3 hours of Raw for, like, a whole year, like, that's too much.
Oh, I try to not remember that, Stan.
Yeah.
That's also like when he wasn't even having good outings during that time was the worst part, besides the fact that he was on the show the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's like that was also like the thing, because like I think a lot of people would have been like, God damn, he's all over the show, but hey, at least that match with so-and-so was really good. And unfortunately, it was like, why is Baron Corbin all over the show?
Also, not many wrestlers can put on a great match dressed like he manages an Applebee's or something. So,
I mean, this is true. Again, not so much the talent, more the booking getting in the way with that ridiculous outfit.
Yeah.
So, but those Worlds Collide. I thought it was a pretty tremendous show. I really enjoyed it. Had a fun time, and again, always appreciate the short run time.
I love the fact that these NXT shows, like I think the longest one I can remember went maybe 3.5 hours. Get in, give me a quality show, and get out. When I go to NXT Live, I usually go every year when they come to my area. I realized that maybe the third or fourth show in, they're running like 2 hours and 45 minutes with an intermission. Like they get in, they put on a good show, and they get out. WWE pay-per-views, we've all heard the complaints. They go too long. New Japan, like I understand Wrestle Kingdom being 5 or so hours, but they run like 4-hour World Tag League final shows. Like nobody wants that. So like just get in there, give me a good show, and get out. You don't have to pad it out.
Yeah, that was the beauty of Fantastica Mania for me. 2 hour and 15-minute shows, man. Lucha Labs.
Their shows are so fun. Yeah, especially when you get like, I mean, we didn't have it this time, but when you get like those years that Okada came out dressed like King from Tekken, like just let the guys go out and have fun for 2 hours and take me home.
I know, yeah. Big Ace Tanahashi coming out in face paint and hanging out with Dulce Gardenia, and
that was like his best friend on the trip.
I know, and fucking 60-year-old Negro Costas beating the shit out of young kids. Great.
That's what I mean. Like, just give me some fun shows sometime, man. Like, wrestling doesn't always have to be so serious.
Yeah, exactly. Like the running theme of Fantastica Mania, for anybody that didn't see it, was Dulce Gardenia, who's an exotico.
Yeah.
His whole goal throughout the tour was trying to kiss Shingo Takagi and proclaiming his love for Bushi. And finally, on the last night of the tour, he got to kiss all 3 members of LIJ he was facing. And he was the happiest little lucha lad in the world. And then he got killed. That's the kind of
long-term storytelling that I'm here for.
And then he got killed. So.
He reminded me of from Lucha Underground, Pimpinela Escarlata, or whatever his name was. Yeah, so...
So, but yeah, like you said, give us some quality action, get in and get out. So, but that will take us to the 2020 Royal Rumble. We started off with our pre-show action, the returning Sheamus facing off with the previously mentioned Chad Gable. They went 12:45, and Sheamus picked up the win. I think we all expected that. Kev, your thoughts?
Again, just Sheamus is like, how does he look the same as he did in 2010? Like, that man he's ridiculous. He's in great shape. Again, I was watching this show with my girlfriend, and she was like, no, they're really not calling him Shorty G, are they? So I like getting those little tidbits for someone who doesn't watch every week. I came in knowing that there was a lot of potential here. It's like it's a classic story, the underdog against the bully, and I think both guys are really good in those roles. So, they knew what to do. They went in there. They had a smart match that made a lot of sense for that story. Everything Chad Gable does is, crisp. That guy knows what he's doing, and Sheamus just hits hard. So, again, just everything that he did made sense. Quality wrestling. Just good stuff.
Yeah, good little opener, fine way to kick off the show, and no real complaints. I think everybody expected Sheamus to win. It was his return match, obviously, and I think you have to put him over. And it makes sense if they're going to extend this a little bit until Gable maybe beats him later on or whatever, but we'll see. But yeah, and the good thing was also is I thought Sheamus, obviously not just in good shape, I thought he looked good overall. Because he's worked a couple live events, but this was his first televised match since April of 2019.
Yeah.
I think he's worked 2 or 3 live events early this year, but other than that, I mean, he's been out because of that neck injury. So I'm glad to see he's in good shape, obviously. I'm glad to see he looked good in the ring, and I just, my only concerns with him are, my man's 41, he's not getting any younger, and I just hope the neck is strong for him.
Yeah, agreed. The fact that he's been out for so long and he, like you said, he looked comfortable. He didn't go out there looking like he had, I think Christian mentioned something on the kickoff show that he doesn't believe in ring rust. He's like, the greats just go out there and do it.
Yeah, and he did. He looked good, man. So I was happy for him, and I'm glad he's back because he seems really happy. And I credit his great shape and Desire Lee whooping his ass on that Celtic Warrior workout video.
All his Celtic Warrior workout videos are pretty insane in terms of what he does.
Yeah, but I think she took his soul during that workout because
she is pretty tough.
So that was cool. And so we went on. Next pre-show match was U.S. champion Andrade defeating Humberto Carrillo 14-25 via pin. They definitely got time. Thought they had a pretty good match. I thought there was a little bit of some kind of odd flow issues or hesitations at times, and I didn't think it felt overly heated considering they did have a good history and angle coming into the match because Andrade basically tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And the crowd never felt really into it. And I thought that held it back from being a little more than it was. Nothing wrong with it, far from bad, just pretty good. I like Sheamus and Gable a little more.
I thought they were about on par with each other, but definitely, like you said, there felt like there was a lack of intensity for the fact that, this guy put you on the shelf and then try to take Rey Mysterio's mask. Carrillo should have been more angry. Maybe he just can't be angry with his dimples. But he certainly, and it needed a little more something to it. Quality-wise, it's 2 wrestlers that can go out there and have crisp exchanges. And like you said, there was a few flow issues. You could tell that they didn't have the kind of chemistry that Andrade has with Ray, or that Humberto had with, I don't know, like someone on 205, Drew Gulak or something. I can't remember. I did think it got good down the stretch. I like the back and forth and the way the finish, played off. It was kind of like a fluke win, like Andrade eked it out. I do want to praise Zelina Vega. Her like reactions to every little moment of the match is so good.
Every time. She's money every time when they get her with that reaction shot.
Like even if even if they don't do the shot and you just see her in the background of a kick out or something Andrade does, she's just everything she's on point with. It's so good. It's like Paul Heyman's probably the only one in her like class for that right now, so it's welcome.
I agree. Like I said, they like nail it every time when she gets that great reaction shot. One thing I want to talk about with Andrade. I love Andrade. He's really good. This is something for me WWE doesn't do enough of. I really wish they would work on having guys that are like champions and stars have an alternate finish. Because Andrade does and like as La Sombra, he did it too. He does a lot of cool stuff like with the arm and arm work, and he does that hanging arm bar. And I really wish he would have a secondary like submission finish.
I would be totally. I always like secondary finishes, and then it makes things less predictable. Like Sami Zayn always hits the Blue Thunder Bomb when he wrestles, and I don't think he's ever won a match with it. But I'm supposed to buy that as a near fall.
Exactly, and like every match, Andrade does the hanging Suzuki armbar, and then he works the arm for a little bit, and then he just goes on about his business like it never happened. And it's like, give me something to bite into. Like if I know you have like an armbar or something that can actually beat somebody, I think that would just add to him because I love Andrade. I think he does a lot of great stuff.
It's like the fact that you put the guy's arm in the hammerlock DDT. That's not enough to pay off your arm work.
Yeah. And it's like one of the things I really liked about Cody on Dynamite so far is like he's won matches with like a figure four, crossroads, and cradles. And I like when a guy can show that like I can win a match more than one way because as we talked about, like unpredictability at times is really great.
It's something I remember from, it's just weird that I'm harping back to my ROH Glory days, but Daniel Bryan, when he was champion there, I believe, if I remember right, he beat Colt Cabana in the title match in like 3 minutes on a small package. And now you've put that in the crowd's mind that this can happen. He can win a match at any moment. Yeah,
the small package run with him was great.
Yeah, it's so good.
So I saw a bunch of people posting this because one thing I noticed is obviously you get a late arriving crowd sometimes, but there were a lot of floor seats empty during these opening matches. Like so many. And then I saw on Twitter, there were a ton of people stuck outside missing the matches because of the horribly slow will call lines, and there were no staff basically helping out.
Wow.
So, bad play by the venue, obviously not a ticket sale problem, but I was just wondering, because like, you could see like around the arena, it was looking full, but then there was this like huge batch of floor seats, like what the fuck, that were empty.
I also think that they paced it out weird. Like, okay, normally they do a kickoff match during the first hour of a 2-hour kickoff show, and I get that. So they did that like at 5:40 or so, and then they ran the second match, the Andrade one, like at 6:10. Like you can save that for like after 6:30. Let more people get in.
Yeah, and that was my other problem with the pre-show too. It did not need to be 2 hours this time around.
Of course,
just way too long. I mean, yeah, you have the two matches, give them time, but they got time, and they were good time for what they needed. But yeah, I mean, you could have done like a nice hour pre-show. You didn't need to do that. I mean, 'cause it was just, otherwise it was just the talking heads bantering around and, largely not saying a lot. So, and like
it's not like they. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like you said too, it would have been nice to see more people in, especially for the title match.
Yeah, and that's what kind of kills the feel of some of these 2-hour shows when these guys have to wrestle so early because there's so many kickoff matches that no one's in attendance. So, but. I lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
Yeah, we're just talking about like the not enough people being in there and just the way they're running the pre-shows. It's just, yeah. I mean, again, nothing wrong with the pre-show because sometimes it's the only time some of these guys are going to get time, and a lot of the time, like I thought these were overall good pre-show matches. No complaints from me, really. I mean, like I said, Andrade and Humberto, I liked a little less than the opener, but just nothing bad about it. So it's just like, yeah, give these guys a crowd to play to, man.
Yeah, because I actually sometimes prefer when they're on the kickoff show because they do get more time. Instead of a 3-minute, quick match on the main card because there's so many things happening there, they get, like you said, Andrade I think they got 14 or 15 minutes. So that was very welcome. But yeah, you put them in front of like nobody, and it's hard to really get anything going there.
And I always feel bad for those guys too, because it's like, yeah, they're professionals. They're to go out there and work hard, but like, it's kind of hard when you're out there and you're trying really hard and you're getting nothing back.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're doing anything wrong.
It's literally that there's no one there to play to.
Exactly. So, main show kicked off with our Falls Count Anywhere match, the Big Dog versus King Corbin. The Big Dog, I actually didn't think he was going to, but he beat King Corbin 21 via pin. Kev, what'd you think?
It was an interesting match. Like, I feel like most of their matches have potential, and then they kind of don't reach their full potential. I do want to just praise the like giant CGI Big Dog like Roman Reigns that they showed. It's so weird. I saw a tweet that said he could have beaten Thanos, so that was pretty good. I do I appreciate when you get a Falls Count Anywhere match and most of the fighting happens outside. It's why I really liked Miz Shane last year or Cage and the Mac at Ultima Lucha. So I like that they fought outside most of the way. The run-ins from everybody made sense with the story. They get a little much after a while, but I get it. There's some really bad camera work, like at some points, and the porta potty. Why was there a porta potty there? Like that doesn't even make sense. There's restrooms all over. Vince McMahon was probably cracking up about that.
Exactly, that's why.
And I did like how they did the pin on the dugout, where the Astros sit. So that was cool. Overall, I thought it was fine. It had some cool ideas in there, but certain things just didn't really click for me. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I thought it was, like you said, there were good ideas. I didn't mind the run-in stuff because obviously there's no rules in the match, and it did play off of the feud. It wasn't like you had like random people running in. It wasn't like Nakamura ran in for no fucking reason. I mean,
true.
So, but for me, it was the one fear I had about the Falls Count Anywhere match in a big venue like this is once you get into that crowd brawling, which makes obvious sense because of the Falls Count Anywhere thing, you run the risk of losing the fans because then they have to rely on the screens. And a lot of people get taken out of a match in a live experience like that. And for me, I thought it was a little too walk and brawly, a little too long, and it didn't feel overly intense. I mean, Roman Reigns has had his ass beat and turned into dog food Jesus. And, I mean, I wanted, like, the Big Dog to come out and try to murder this dude. And, like, it wasn't like it was lackadaisical. It's just, like, I think the layout just wasn't the best. You know, like I said, a little too walk and brawl. Like, they started off, it was okay, then they walk and brawled, then they came back to the ring, and then they walk and brawled again, and then we had the guys get involved, and it picked up a little bit. And then we walk and brawled a little bit more. We got the shitter spot. And then we got, like you said, the finish on the dugout was cool. Yeah. And it was just like, give me a little more intensity. I want to believe Roman Reigns actually wants to kill this guy for being fucking humiliated.
Yeah, it's like they don't, like, I like Roman Reigns. I really enjoy his matches, but it's like they don't seem to grasp that he does his best work in, like, short bursts. Like, he's a guy who can give you, I think him and Drew last year at Mania, I wanted, like, a 7 to 10 minute just sprint, and it wasn't that. And I feel like this year too, you could have done like a 10-minute match where Corbin just gets his ass kicked because that's what he's it's been building towards. Let the Usos and Ziggler and Rude do their thing, and then just have Roman just kill him. But it kind of dragged on when it didn't need to.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it definitely would have been better if it was like definitely around 10-minute mark. Just kind of let him go high intensity, let Roman take his wrath out on him, get his revenge. And yeah, it's not everybody is built for the long match. Yeah, and it's just it's one of those things because, like you said, I do agree. Roman is much better in like short, intense matches because a lot of his offense works much better as opposed to where you drag it on for maybe 15 minutes and then he kind of has to power up and fire up, and he's not that like traditional underdog babyface to do the fire up thing. He's more the intense brawler that should be kind of on that intense level for like from the go and throughout. So
yeah, it's why he was such a good hot tag guy with the Shield.
Exactly. That's exact point. We got a backstage segment. Kevin and Joe were talking about the Rumble. They both want to win. They both want to take out Seth, but they're both willing to go through each other. Reluctant allies. I'm sure they'll have a fun time out having dinner later.
Yeah, I really like their pairing.
Oh, yeah, it's fun. Mandy and Sonya had a promo. They talked about the Rumble, and Sonya said that she wouldn't fight Mandy and she would sacrifice herself if it would allow Mandy to win. They're still teasing that split hard.
It's like they're somehow teasing the split, but also teasing the lesbian love storyline. And it's like, do you not know which way you want to go with this? Because you could have read it as it's going to be a split, but you could also read it as, is Sonya in love with her and she would sacrifice herself? So it's like, I don't know where they're trying to go with this.
It's hard to tell. At this point, Michael Cole commented on the death of Kobe Bryant and his daughter today. I know you're a basketball fan, right, Ko?
Yeah, big time. And when I first started watching in like 2001 or so, and that's right in the middle of the Kobe and Shaq era. My favorite team, the Nets, played them in the finals and got, swept easily. But like, so I've watched a lot of Kobe's prime, and this is like, honestly, it's insane. Like it's touching everybody. People that have never watched basketball, who Kobe is. Like I still don't believe what I read today.
Yeah, I chalk up the things I thought wouldn't happen. I outlived Kobe Bryant. Yeah,
it did not. Like, that's just, it's like, I thought, like, Kobe felt like somebody who might be, immortal, like Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair. Like, they seem immortal, right? They live on forever.
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's definitely tragic, especially with his daughter involved.
Yeah, for sure.
Apparently, from like the reports and stuff, like there was another like father and his daughter, because they were going to one of the basketball games for the kids, and just fucking tragic, man. It's like dads is taking their girls to a game, and I guess it was like fog related or something, man. But it's just I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like a big basketball fan. I pop in and watch from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, obviously everybody knows who Kobe is, and when I saw that pop up on Twitter today, my first thought was like, oh, someone's fucking around. That's not funny.
Yeah, the first thing that I saw it on, actually, because I was in the middle of I've been renovating my room in my house. And I went to my Twitter in the middle of it. I went to Instagram, and don't know why this is where I saw it, but it was Vanessa Hudgens posted a picture of Kobe and like captioned it with what happened. And I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? So then I went to Twitter and it started opening up and reading. And as the day came out, as the day went on, more details came out. And like, it's just crazy because he had just come out and said that he had stopped watching basketball really after he retired. And then his daughter got into it. And now they were watching games and constantly like analyzing it and going through it. And, they had like found an extra bond through that. And now like, it's just, it's real tragic.
It is, dude. And that's just, it's fucking crazy. It's just one of those things that goes to show you, man. You never know when it's going to be your time, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Fucking wild, but we'll get back into some better things. We had the Women's Royal Rumble match up next. And we started off with Alexa Bliss and Bianca Belair. And one of the stories of this match was Bianca Belair got a big run in this match.
She, like her song says, "Watch Me Shine." Like she got a huge run. It wasn't like, I remember last year Natalya lasted 56 minutes and did nothing. Bianca lasted like half of that, but she threw out 8 people and she looked like a star. Yeah,
she did. Definitely a good star-making run for Bianca. 33 minutes in, eliminating 8 women. The other story was Shayna Baszler coming in late. Shayna fucking ran wild. Monster run with 8 eliminations.
Mm-hmm.
I thought all throughout we had some good elimination teases, some good eliminations, some nice story stuff. The most hilarious part of the match was at one point it looked like Mandy Rose got dumped. And they panned out and Otis was laying on the floor and she landed on him.
Yeah.
And so Otis saved her life through the power of love and got her back in the match.
What a great love story.
I credit any SmackDown ratings improvement to that love couple.
Absolutely.
So, but, I mean, a lot of people kind of mockingly laughed at it. I thought it was funny, and it fits the kind of goofy love story they're doing perfectly because, of course, Otis would be there to save his peach.
Yeah, and that's what like I said, wrestling doesn't always need to be serious. That's fun. Last year, the random Hornswoggle appearance in the Rumble, like that was fun,
So, but anyway, Bianca and Shayna got huge runs, eliminated 8 each. And overall, at the end of the day, we did not get Ronda Rousey. We did not get a Shayna Baszler win. Obviously, Bianca didn't win. The Lady Big Dog, Charlotte, took the win at 55 minutes.
Lady Big Dog. So just real quick before I get to my thoughts on the result, I do want to just mention a couple of things that I liked.
Sure.
Mighty Molly got a pop out of me.
Yep.
Like I really love that. I thought Lana was super annoying. Liv Morgan didn't get a long run, and I saw some people were upset that Liv got all this hype to not get a long run, but I thought it was fine. They furthered her story, and it's not like she was going to win anyway. Like I said, I loved Otis. Bianca was great. Shayna Baszler, the second she came out, it felt like everything changed. Like, she is legitimate. She comes across as such a badass. As for Charlotte, I wanted Shayna to win. On paper, you figure Charlotte's got to win one or two of these in her career. She's the top woman. I don't think this was the year. Like, what are they gonna do? You don't want to run her Becky for the 1,000th time. You don't want to run her Bailey again. I don't think. I posted on Twitter that the only thing that sounds interesting to me is what if she goes after Rhea Ripley. So. Yeah. But other than that, I don't think it was a great decision.
I agree, but in my preview, I noted I thought Charlotte was a possibility because, I just think they're obviously into giving her accomplishments. I mean, look at all the title runs already. I mean, it's a running joke within the New Day all the time if you pay attention to them.
It is.
So, I love Big E joking about her 17 title runs. And, it's just, I figured it was a possibility. I really thought that I thought it was going to be Shayna or Ronda returning because, the Shayna thing you can play off of the Survivor Series and the feud they started there and the fact that Shayna won that match and then Becky attacked her. Yeah. Ronda coming back would obviously make sense to give us the one-on-one WrestleMania match that we didn't get last year. And we got Charlotte. And like you said, Charlotte and Becky always have really good to potentially great matches, but I don't think I really want to see it again.
Same.
Her and Bailey had solid to good matches, I thought. Like, I wasn't really wowed by their matches.
Me either.
So it's like, I don't want to see that again. You bring up the Rhea thing. That at least sounds interesting. But, the only way I'm interested in it is if they're putting Rhea over her.
Oh, of course. I don't want her to win. I could see it be a case of Charlotte's like, well, I won the SmackDown Women's title like 12 times. I won the Raw Women's title like 19 times. So maybe she wants to add more NXT titles to her thing, which if NXT is now like considered adjacent, like it's not below the main roster, then, I think that story works, but Rhea has to win, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So we'll see what happens. Not the, like I said, I thought, if you weren't bringing Ronda back, I thought Shayna should win. Mm-hmm. But, at least Shayna and Bianca got really strong runs and looked great. The thing with me with Shayna is, I try not to harp on age because depending on who you are, the age doesn't matter. Like, I just saw Negro Casas had some fucking super fun matches at age 60. And, I love Yuji Nagata and Kojima, and they're older and still have really good great matches. Exactly, Liger. So, Shayna is late 30s, man. She's pushing 40, and it's like, I just think if you're going to do something with her, you need to do it soon. Her NXT stuff, she did a lot of great stuff in NXT, but there also has to be a point that maybe you have to get a little more out of her, too. Because I think she has a lot more to offer as well.
Agreed. For me, like I said, when she came out, she felt like a badass. And nothing against Ronda Rousey, who I thought was very good in her first year. But Shayna feels like everything that they kind of wanted Ronda to be. Like, Shayna comes out, and like I said, the mood changes. She feels like she can legitimately kick anyone's ass in that ring. And there's so much you can do with that. Like Becky Lynch fighting again from behind, as the underdog, kind of. Like, there's so much potential there. But like you said, she is pushing 40, and again, I agree with you. You don't always harp on the age. However, it has seemed like it's a little different with, like women. Like, we don't see many women wrestle into their 40s.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, but the other thing I consider too is you have to consider that she had a long mixed martial arts career. There's a lot of mileage on her before she even got into wrestling, and God forbid, she could take a wrong step Wednesday night and blow her knee out and be out for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, and like, I also agree with your point on that she, in a lot of ways, was what they wanted Ronda to be. And like you said, when she came out, there was a buzz in the crowd because everybody was like, "Oh shit!"
Mm-hmm. It happened in the Battle Royal last week. She came out the last second of the Battle Royal. I'm like, "Oh shit, she's winning the whole thing."
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, they've done a good job of building a really good star aura around her, and she carries herself extremely well in that as well. So,
yeah.
Yeah, maybe a missed opportunity. We'll see what they do. Yeah, not thrilled about the Charlotte win. Another accolade for the list, and she reminded us that it didn't matter what anybody wanted. This is her division. Thanks for coming, Charlotte.
It's like, and then you watch that and you're like, so wait, I still don't know if she's heel or face. She's like Big Show. She just turns all the time.
I have absolutely no clue either. And then Baron Corbin cut. It was actually a very funny delusional heel promo. He talked about how Reigns was afraid to face him, and he lucked out because he had to use cheap tricks in the Usos to secure a win. Like, he would never do that.
It's great stuff.
So I laughed. So next up, Women's Championship SmackDown match. Bayley versus Lacey Evans, newly minted babyface Lacey Evans. Lacey's husband and daughter were at ringside, so I think a lot of people were maybe thinking Lacey Evans might get the win here, but Bayley retained at the end of the day, getting the knees up on the Marisol and covering with the tights for the win in 9:30. Kev, what did you think?
This was, for me, the worst thing on the show. I don't think it was like putrid or anything, but it just was kind of boring. I think the problem is, Bayley's done okay as a heel. Like, I think she's done pretty decent work as a heel. I can't buy Lacey Evans as a babyface. She was just starting to click for me as a heel because whatever issue she had in the ring, she nailed her character. And I just think it doesn't work as a babyface. So those roles just don't really click with me. It could have just been me. I mean, the crowd didn't seem like they were as into it. I really did like the hand holding with the kid at the end. Like, that was played well with her daughter in the crowd. But overall, it was kind of boring.
Yeah, like, it was all right. I didn't hate it. Like you said, it was far from bad. I think part of the problem was, besides it being like a little flat and boring, as you mentioned, that I greatly appreciate like the stuff Lacey's trying to do. She's working really hard and she has gotten better, but I think she got a little too ambitious in this match at times. Mm-hmm. Like, she had to slip on the springboard. She did that dropkick spot and it was banged her head off the steps, and it was like,
yeah,
it's like I hate to use the phrase, but stay in your lane a little bit. Because, like, she could have slipped off there, and she ended up kind of hitting Bayley. But what happens if she slips and falls on Bayley's knee and blows her knee out?
Yeah, it's one of those cases where it feels like, as you said, she has been improving, and there's potential there. But in some cases, it also feels like she's getting put into these big spots, and she's clear. Like, when she came out 1 and 2 in the Rumble last year, she flubbed the kick up like immediately. She didn't exactly wow us against Becky, and in the main event with Corbin and Seth, like, she's getting these huge spots, and she doesn't seem ready for it.
Yeah, and I said that when she was first brought up because I watched her in NXT. I thought she had a lot of potential. Obviously athletic. She has a great look. She's in great shape. And I thought an eventual babyface run for her, because of her background, you can do a lot with that. Mm-hmm. And like, the babyface turn seems a little rushed and forced at times. I think she's done well with it, but I mean, I don't think it's exactly clicking.
Yeah.
And again, maybe a little too ambitious at times. And it's not like I want her to stop trying. I want her to get better, but I think you just have to know what you can do at times. Because, like, I don't think I've ever actually seen her try springboard before this match. Mm-hmm. I've seen her do like slingshot elbows and stuff, but like, you're amping things up, and yeah, she has a good dead jump and everything, but like, she got up there and was unsteady, and like I said, I mean, God forbid she flies into Bayley's knee and blows it out, or both of them get injured. I mean, it's just, yeah. So I agree. Definitely one of the weaker things on the show, unfortunately, and I saw a lot of people giving Becky flack. They're like, well, maybe Becky just didn't try with Lacey because she was upset that she had to work with her and she was green. It's like, oh, no offense. I mean, Bayley, I'm sure, tried, but she didn't do much better with her either.
Yeah, it wasn't like this was so far ahead of those the Becky Lacey matches. It's just Lacey still clearly has work to be done. Maybe when she first turned babyface, instead of immediately going into big title match at a giant stadium, you put her in a lower card feud against like Sonya Deville or something and let her get her a little more comfortable in the role.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they should have had her working like Sasha or somebody on the road too. I mean, just get her good reps in there with experienced people and just try to get her better. And that's like the one thing WWE really lacks on the main roster in terms of the women, because like on the road, if you have like a younger guy that you just want to get reps and help him get better, you can throw him in there with a guy like an Eric Young, who's been in wrestling forever and who's really good. It goes back to the day like when they brought Lashley up and all they did for him for like 5 months was have him work Fit Finlay on the road.
Yeah.
Dustin Rhodes used to do this a lot as Goldust working with guys. So like, and that's the one thing the women's division really lacks, especially because Mickie James is out injured. You don't really have a really strong veteran that you can put on the road with Lacey.
Yeah, I was going to say Mickie would fit the bill if she wasn't hurt. Like Natalya, I don't know, she's fine, like technically, but she still has very awkward moments in the ring. Then the other veterans around her, like Tamina, she's Tamina. Like she's not going to teach anybody anything.
Yeah, unfortunately. So that's unfortunately the one thing they lack. And, someone like Mercedes Martinez, who was in the Rumble, she would be great in a role like that.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, you just need to, if you see something in Lacey and they want to push her, I have no problem with it. But I mean, you got to get her better and you got to get her ready.
And, it's like they just throw her right into the fire, trial by fire, putting her in big stadium shows and big matches.
Yeah, and unfortunately, not everybody is a Tyler Bate.
Yeah.
If it were, wrestling would be fucking amazing.
It would be like that. Like, you could probably put Tyler Bate in front of 100,000 right now and he'll kill it.
Exactly. So we headed off to another title match, the Universal title match. Champion The Fiend defeating Daniel Bryan 17 minutes, 50 seconds via pin. This was the strap match. The first of all the positives I have for this match, there was no red light bullshit, thank God.
Oh, it was so amazing that wasn't there.
Because, I mean, again, that's one of those things that it does for me. It really took away from the matches and seeing things properly. Hated it. And I know live crowds hated it too.
I don't know why they keep trying it. They tried it with Kane when he debuted. It was ugly. They tried it with Sin Cara. Like, it's not a good gimmick. Never use it.
It really doesn't work. The other thing I loved in this match was Daniel Bryan doing throwback spots.
Yes.
He did the post spot that he did in his match with Nigel with the Fiend and the strap. And then later on he did the yes lock and used the strap like he used the chain with Morishima.
Yeah.
Love those little throwback things that he mixes in. Now, granted, your wider WWE audience isn't going to get the significance. They're just going to think they're kind of cool spots. But, like, we're fucking geeks, so we love that shit.
Yep. I was actually I was there live for the chain Morishima spot.
Well, shit, there you go.
Yeah, so, like, seeing things like that is, like, even he kind of did it in 2013 when he was feuding with Randy Orton and he put the kendo stick across his, like, face for it, so... Yeah, I like when he does things like that. I've been a huge Bryan fan for like 15 years now, so.
Yeah. It's great. I love when guys mix in little things like that plays off their history that if you've been following them at any length, you kind of pick up on. And they're also nods to like some of his greatest hits, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, the Nigel match, I mean, all the Nigel stuff was just crazy. The Morishima,
yeah.
I mean, Morishima almost killed the man, so...
he did.
I thought Bryan was really great here. Just his selling, he took like 800 fucking lashes. But the man sells, he's great. He's so great when he fires up. I think it went a little longer. I think kind of like what you brought up with Roman Reigns, I think the Fiend stuff works better in a shorter time frame. I think he gets a little overexposed because as the match went on, there was tons of the whipping and lashing spots, which obviously it's a strap match you're going to do, but after a while I'm like, okay, we're doing it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, and I think Bray has a lot of good ideas, but I also think in these longer matches he gets slightly exposed.
Yes.
And I do also think that it took like 10 minutes for the crowd to really get into this when Bryan finally made his comeback.
Yeah.
Like, they were just like, oh, Brian's getting his ass beat. Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it feels a case of a little bit of, like you said, Bray has a lot of good ideas, but when he's asked to go 20 minutes, he's like, well, I have all of these ideas, so I'm going to try doing so many of them, and it ends up hurting the match sometimes, like the Seth match in Hell in a Cell. They tried way too many things in that match. Here it was a little more subdued, so I appreciated that. Like, he did things, but it wasn't like he got a giant mallet out,
Yes, thank God, no mallet either. No red light, no mallet.
I do. Daniel Bryan should have really considered wearing, like a turtleneck or any kind of shirt for this. Like, he was wrecked. I liked how he did the yes kicks and then would throw in a strap, like a hit with the strap. Like, it was, they did a good job using the strap to change things up. The Sister Abigail spot where he caught the knee like into the Abigail spot, it was a really cool idea. It came off a little awkward, but I think that was like cool. I thought it was a good match. I like their 2014 Rumble match better.
Yeah, me too.
Agree with what you said. Like, Bray sometimes gets exposed in these longer matches, but if anybody's going to help him, hide those things, it's Daniel Bryan. And I thought this was good.
Yeah, I thought it was good too. Maybe a little better than the Survivor Series match. Like you said, some decent counter stuff. I did like that Busaiku knee into the Sister Abigail. I thought that was really cool. And like you said, it maybe looked a little rough, but I mean, it's a strap match, and you're dealing with that as well. So, I mean, it wasn't like he dropped him on his fucking head or they had like a disastrous spot. Like, rough is okay at times because that's real as well.
Yeah.
Where do you think Brian goes from here?
I was wondering that because, I thought about, you're not going to run Brian Bray at Mania again. He's a guy who doesn't feel like there's anyone obvious for him. I can't, especially on the SmackDown side. SmackDown roster feels very thin. If you're not going to do, Roman Bray, I don't know if that's the plan, but you can do Roman Bryan maybe, or Roman Bryan Bray in a triple threat. Maybe big match John returns and he wrestles his former like brother-in-law kind of in a, because Brian is technically like 1-0 against him in big matches, so that'd be a cool thing, I think. But honestly, it's a crapshoot. Maybe him and Kofi do a rematch. I don't know. Yeah,
I really don't know where they do go with him. I just hope it's something that they could let him have a possibly great match. Mm-hmm. And I still contend that the Fiend's weakness is his mask. Once somebody rips that fucker off, it's over.
That'd be cool.
So, WWE Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia announced for February 27th.
I'm sure you're excited.
Oh, yeah. If I was getting some of that sweet money, I'd love it.
Right? You're ready to get that 2 out of 10 score already.
That's right. Nah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they do some okay stuff on those shows, but I also think a lot of them are just kind of low effort and everybody collected a check. But you know what? I mean, give me some money too and I'll collect a check. But
I get it. It's just like when, I used to get those, I'm dating myself here, but I used to get like those VHS tapes of like Insurrection or Rebellion, those exclusive UK pay-per-views. And then you go back and watch them and you're like, these guys put in no effort, but they didn't have to because the crowd was hyped to see them no matter what. So, it's like a house show.
Yeah, that was one of those instances where Steve Austin could have walked out and took a shit in the ring and they would have just like loved it.
Exactly. But last time they were in Saudi Arabia, we got Tyson Fury coming out in like a turban and I was like, what is happening? So that was worth it.
And I will say Mansoor looked really good against Cesaro. That dude has a lot of potential.
Yes, he does. And it's not like, I know people want to say Cesaro can wrestle anybody, but you got to be able to do your thing too. And he's looked good in pretty much all his like little NXT moments and stuff. So yeah, a lot of potential in Mansoor.
Yeah, again, he is. Dude's in good shape. He seems to work really hard. I thought he stepped up big against Cesaro, and yeah, I also agree. He did like 1 or 2 NXT UK, and he did a couple NXT deals as well. And yeah, I just think he's a young dude that has potential. I mean, I don't know how much they're going to use him. I assume he'll have a match on this show, and hopefully, again. Here's the thing too: if you're going to present him as a star in Saudi Arabia because of his background, please put him in with somebody good. Yeah,
like Cesaro or Nakamura or somebody who can get their, do their part in the match.
Exactly. I mean, because again, I'm not a big fan of the Saudi shows, but here's the thing: play to your audience. He's obviously a star there. They want him to be a star there. make sure you book him like a star. That's all I'm asking.
Also, I really appreciate how last time they found a nice way around the fact that Saudi Arabia wants all these legends. They did the Team Hogan, Team Flair. Like, you still get your legends, but they don't clog up the match.
Yeah, and we didn't have a Triple H or Undertaker match either, which I was actually very surprised by.
Mm-hmm. And that tag was actually good, that like big Team Hogan, Team Flair match. So
yeah. We'll see what they do for this one. Obviously, we'll talk into Rumble. I think there could be a big name collecting a big Saudi paycheck coming up. But anyway, we moved on. Another title match, Raw Women's title match. The champion, Becky Lynch, defeated Asuka 16:35 via submission. Becky finally gets the monkey off her back. They had the year-long build, which I thought Becky did a really good job of playing up the feud. In fact, she felt like unfulfilled as a champion and had to beat Asuka. I thought that was a nice twist on, instead of Asuka just coming out and being like, hey, I beat your ass last year, I won a title shot. So I appreciated that. I thought they had a really good match. I thought they played well off of the history they had. They had a good build. Asuka's obviously great. Becky played her role extremely well here because she had to beat the woman that defeated her last year. The end was fun as she countered the mist. And then, we got the disarmer and we got the clean win. So, I mean, quality piece of business overall. And I enjoyed this. That was really good.
Yeah, from top to bottom, like you said, I think Becky's like best work since she first started, obviously when she first started the man thing, that was really good. But her best work since winning the title was easily this feud. She put Asuka over, she beat Asuka, but she put Asuka over like a big fucking deal. She's like, the company is protecting me. And even when she sold the green mist, like that was some of the best mist selling that I've ever seen, whether, whoever was selling it. Like, remember when Paige got it and it was all comical kind of? Becky sold it like
her eyes were burning out of her head, man.
Yeah, it was great. The match itself, like you said, really good. I don't think it was on par with their match last year, which ranks high on my top 100 matches of the year. Cheap plug. But the match, very good stuff. They played off the past, like you said. I love the finish with the mist coming into play. I like that she made Asuka tap when Asuka made her tap last year, which was a nice turnaround there. Their chemistry is really good. Just everything about this was very good. I don't think it was like match of the year like status, but just very good from no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, and I think Becky actually deserves a lot of credit because from everything I heard, the feud was her idea. And and I'm not trying to like bury WWE. It's not like the company set up this year-long feud. It's just that Becky saw it, and from what I heard, she went to Heyman with it and was like, listen, this is something I want to do, and I think we have a great match, blah, 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 and it's all there.
Yep.
And it was, and sometimes, again, keep it simple, stupid. This was so easy because, again, Asuka did beat her last year. She tapped her out. And I kind of like that when you have that champion thing sometimes, like, I need to defend my title against this person.
It reminded me a lot of, I've harped on it before, but it reminded me of a lot of Okada's like 700 or 600 day reign that he had with the title, where like he was, even if he got challenged by somebody like Shibata, he wanted to go out there and prove that he could beat him at his game. It was like there's a chip on the champion's shoulder where it's, I'm the champion, but I need to prove to everybody that I'm the best, of all these people. So I think that was like very good stuff, and it reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah, and it is a nice play on just the traditional someone wins a number one contenders match or I beat you in the past story. So I appreciate little things like that. The Street Profits were beatboxing themes and killing time backstage.
Which, I like the Street Profits, but I don't need you recapping a show I'm already watching.
Exactly. They killed time. Booker T came out to join commentary because it was in his hometown. And then commentary announced that Lashley and Rusev were out of the Rumble because they brawled later in the evening and were not medically cleared, which opened up spots in the Rumble.
Also, they took out Buddy Murphy, who was announced, and Otis and Tucker, but they didn't even acknowledge that. So I'm like, you didn't have to acknowledge Lashley and Rusev. You could have just,
Nobody likely would have noticed because I doubt anybody had the list sitting by,
The only reason I noticed is because, like I said, I was watching my girlfriend and she was like, is Finn in this? And it got to like number 27. I think Joe came out and I was like, No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I said it was Joe and Seth. So I was like, wait, that means no Otis, no Buddy. Like I figured it out at the end.
Obviously, the big gimmick with the Rumble this year was Brock Lesnar was entering number one because he had no viable challengers, according to him and Paul Heyman, and he was going to run the field. So Brock was in at number one. Elias was in number two, and he got to sing before he was destroyed. Eric Rowan came out with his little cage. He got destroyed.
So funny that Eric Rowan has been like squashing everybody, and Brock throws him out like in 5 seconds.
Yeah. And we still don't know what's in the cage.
No, we don't.
So, thanks for coming, Eric. Bobby Roode came out. He got killed. F5. Done. John Morrison came out. Killed. Done.
Why could they not have just like swapped John Morrison with like Dolph Ziggler? Let Dolph get thrown out quick. Let Jomo get a little run.
I saw your tweet about Dolph's music hitting, and I died because I feel that way every time his music hits.
It was literally a room of us, and the second we heard it, you just like, even people who don't watch the show normally just like, oh, it's Dolph Ziggler. Damn.
See, that's funny. But yeah, Morrison got killed. Kofi came out. And
that was cool.
Kofi got a huge reaction. Crowd loves Kofi. He got worked over. He actually survived until Ray came out. And Ray survived until Big E came out.
I thought they were going to do like a run of Brock's like enemies, like Kofi, then Rey Mysterio, then maybe like Cain Velasquez, because there was rumors he was in it. So I thought it was just going to be like a barrage. But
yeah, I was kind of waiting for that too. But they rallied, they worked over Brock, hit a Trouble in Paradise big ending, 619. But then Brock dumped them all, said fuck off. Cesaro arrived, he got killed.
Yeah.
Shelton Benjamin arrived. This was funny.
That was good.
Because he comes out, he shakes hands with Paul Heyman. Brock is kind of smiling in the ring. They got in the ring and they shook hands and hugged, and they're all happy. And then Brock says, fuck off, Shelton, Germans him, dumps him, and then laughs his ass off.
So it's funny around this point because, part of the reason I started watching wrestling was because my mom has always watched it since, since she was little. So she texts me during the show, during the Rumble, and it's like when Brock's dominating, she just texts me, this Rumble's boring. She was so mad, and I'm like, don't worry, it's going to have a nice payoff. And then I think Shelton came out, and like my brother's a big Shelton Benjamin fan, and she's just like, this sucks. She was so mad. It was funny.
So the Shelton stuff was good, but it wasn't the best. Nakamura came out, he got dumped. Then it got funny because MVP arrived.
So random.
Random as hell, but the best part was Brock fucking bebopping and dancing to his music while he made his entrance.
It's like another thing that I tweeted because my friend, pointed that out that was funny. And I'm like, I have gone back and forth like 7 times during this match of someone throw Brock out, and I hope Brock runs the table and throws out all 29 people, because he would do something like bop back and forth to MVP's theme. And then, I'm like, okay, I'm back in, Brock, win this whole match.
So that cracked me up. He got destroyed real quick, so he's done. And then Big Keith Lee arrived. Was happy to see Keith Lee get a Rumble shot. He actually survived for a while till Braun came in.
Also, another highlight was when he came out, Brock just looks at Paul Heyman and is like, this is a big boy.
Big motherfucker, yeah.
I think at one point he looked at Paul and was like, who the fuck is this? Like, who's this guy?
So, they put up a decent little fight, but they both got dumped. Ricochet arrived, still smarting from getting kicked in the nads. He flew in, Brock started kicking his ass, until Drew McIntyre entered at number 16. And he got Brock got low blowed by Ricochet, and Drew fucking Claymore'd his ass to the floor. So Brock lasted 36 minutes, he killed a bunch of fuckers. Drew was the one to get the big elimination. I was very happy at this point because I've been begging for Drew to get something. Because he's a guy that it feels like they keep constantly teasing they're going to do something with. He's a guy I think they could do a lot with. But they've never pulled the trigger yet.
It's like, going back, I think going into last year's Rumble, I thought he was a favorite and he didn't really do anything. And then he had the feud with Roman that kind of went nowhere. Then he was like, wasn't he down with Shane, if I remember right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like Shane's number two man, which isn't a good spot. And then he was kicking like Braun Strowman's ass like every week. Like he Claymored the hell out of him, and that went nowhere. So it definitely was something welcome. When he came out, I got up to pee, and like the bathroom is not far from the room I was watching it in. And my girlfriend's like, "You're gonna miss it," and I'm like, "Ah, it's fine. Unless he throws Brock out like instantly, I'm not gonna miss it." And then she goes, "Oh, he's out!" And I was so mad that I got up at that moment to pee.
See, that's what happens, man. You got to plan the bathroom breaks better.
Yeah, anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation.
That's right. So yeah. Miz joined. He got dumped. AJ Styles came out. Dolph came out, and everybody groaned, as you said.
Yep, for sure.
We got Carl Anderson in, and then number 21, the big surprise, which everybody was still thinking might happen, even though he denied it. The return of the Rated R Superstar Edge.
That was insane because I know that people have talked about it, but I'm like, no, it's Edge. He can't wrestle anymore. Like, he might die. And then just to hear that music, like, Edge is kind of, like, I guess I would say he's my favorite wrestler of all time. I can't remember a moment in my life where I didn't like Edge. Babyface run, heel run, tag team. It didn't matter. Edge was always the guy for me. And just to hear that, like, I literally sat there and I had no idea, like, how to really react to it. I was like, this is happening. He has the pyro and everything like this, and he looks good. Like, he's shredded.
Dude's been in good shape. He's been showing workout photos for like the last year. He got into really good shape, and yeah, he looked good. And obviously it's hard to judge from a Rumble match because it's not a regular match, but he was in there for a fair amount of time, and I thought he looked good overall. It looked pretty crisp, considering it's been how long since he wrestled. I mean, he ran wild with spears for a while and stuff like that, and match kind of carried on for a while. I think the fun part was really we had the Rated RKO reunion for a while with him and Orton.
I like how Orton straight up was like, "You're shredded, dude." Like,
yeah, they had some fun little interactions, and they obviously worked together. They hit like double RKOs. Randy teased dumping him at one point, and then Edge caught him. And then they were like, no, it's all right. And then Edge said, fuck off, and dumped him. So
yeah, good stuff.
So that was good. Joe and Kevin Owens entered late. Aleister Black was in late. Some fun stuff with them. It slowed down a little bit after the Brock stuff, but like the Edge stuff I thought really propped it up. Seth Rollins entered last. He came out with Buddy Murphy and the AOP. We got floor brawling. The AOP actually saved Seth at one time from being tossed. So that was a good use of them because they didn't overdo it, and then like AOP and Buddy and the other guys after they got eliminated all brawled to the back.
I do want to point out, I thought it was really cool how Buddy cost Aleister Black his spot. Like, Buddy hasn't forgotten that he's 0-3 against him. He's the one who kind of messed up Aleister Black, and Seth threw him out. So I thought that was really cool.
Buddy's never gonna forget.
Yeah, Buddy never forgets. I saw him distraught at ringside.
So, we got down. Edge and Orton and Drew and Reigns were left here down at the stretch. Just fun stuff down the stretch. I liked a lot of what they did. Edge got dumped, or Orton got dumped, as I mentioned. Edge got dumped, and then we had Drew and Roman down the stretch here. And Drew eventually claymored him and tossed him for the win at just over an hour. And I think the first thing... I thought it was nice to kind of see them mix things up with the Brock stuff this year because
for sure
the Rumble can be very paint by numbers, and sometimes that's really good if you weave into right stories and have the right guys, and other times it's just kind of okay. So I thought the Brock portion was really energetic. It, like I said, it slowed down a little bit until Edge came out. That got the crowd into it. A little bit of a slow middle. I did love the Edge return. I mean, obviously, he's cleared to come back, and he feels like he's safe enough to come back. So good for him. I think that's cool. I like the mini RKO reunion. Thought the closing stretch was really well done overall. I thought it was a really good Rumble, and like I said, it's about time with Drew. He got to dump Brock. He picked up the big win on top of that, and it finally kind of feels like they're going to go all the way with him.
It feels like the way to go is Brock Drew at Mania. Now, do they pull like a Roman in 2018 wasn't, and just Brock beats him at Mania and that kind of kills his momentum? Or, hopefully not. But Drew definitely seems like it seems like it's finally time. 3MB doing big things. Former WWE champion Jinder Mahal. You got Drew McIntyre. Maybe Heath Slater wins something big this year.
That's right. I said in my preview, man, I said I would love if somebody like Drew won. And no shit, dude. I tell you what, if they do Drew and Brock at Mania, if they're concerned with trying to make a star, I would ring the bell and have him Claymore that motherfucker out of his boots and pin him.
Yeah, I'm all like, I feel like with Brock, you get like Seth last year. Yeah, they had the brawl before him, but Seth beat him in 3 minutes. Like, just get in there, do your thing. Like him Claymore and him like for a squash, or even if you do Claymore and then Brock kind of gets up, you do a second Claymore. Like just have him like wreck Brock shit.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm all about trying to make stars, and I talk about that every week when I'm reviewing AEW and NXT with various people, and, like, I always praise, like, the NXT women's division. They have such depth, and, like, there was times where, like, we were talking about the women's division, then it's like, you still forget that people like Karen, me, and Rachel Ellering are injured, and there's all these other chicks not on TV yet. So
that roster's crazy.
Yeah, and so they have this ridiculously deep division, and they've done a good job of elevating a lot of them, especially heading into War Games. You mentioned Kaylee Ray earlier. I agree, vastly underrated. I think she's great. So you add in some of the NXT UK women as well, and that's a ridiculously deep division. When I talk about AEW, I talk about, they're trying with guys like Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara to make stars and make young stars and new stars. Yeah. And I think it's really important overall. And tonight, I think they did a great job with Bianca. I thought her Rumble run was excellent. I thought they made her look like a star. And I think they made Drew look like a star here. Now, kind of the caveat with this, with everything, is they have to follow up on it, obviously.
For sure.
But, I mean, I think that these are good takeaways. Overall, Kevin, I thought very good Rumble main event, and I thought the show was good overall. I had a good time. A little long, but I had a good time.
I'm right there in the same boat. I think this was a great Rumble. I do appreciate, like you said, that it's something different. Like, I can understand the frustration that someone like my mother had, or, someone watching, and it's like, oh, Brock is just dominating again. But we've been watching Royal Rumbles going back to 1988. It's hard to do something different. A lot of Rumbles, especially in a lot of the like recent years, feel like you don't remember much from them. Like, I don't remember much from the 2012 Rumble, except that Sheamus won. It's just an example. So I'm glad that they tried something different. Everyone's going to remember this as the Rumble that Brock Lesnar dominated, and then Drew McIntyre kicked his ass out of the ring. I thought that was, a very ballsy move, and I think it paid off because the pop for Drew's moment was great. I like that Ricochet got to be involved in it, got a little bit of revenge. It's interesting that Roman's always in the end of these, and it's because it's such a great reaction because people don't want him to win. So when the guy knocks him out, it's great. It happened with Nakamura in 2018. It happened with Orton and Wyatt in 2017. So just having him there makes a lot of sense. Like you said, I really enjoyed the show. Got to sit here and, just sit back, relax with friends and watch it, and just a good time. It was a little long, but it was much shorter than last year's that went absurdly long. So yeah, I appreciated that. Top to bottom, I enjoyed pretty much everything. I think Lacey Evans Bayley was the only match that I didn't really like. So very good stuff.
Yeah, so I mean that I think overall we wrap up a good weekend for WWE. Like I said, really enjoyed Worlds Collide. It'll be interesting to see if they can do that again down the line. I think you could market that as a once a year event, and maybe that becomes like a Rumble weekend tradition.
For sure.
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that. I do think it breaks it up instead of doing the traditional takeover, and I also like it because you had an NXT UK takeover, and then you had Worlds Collide, and then Takeover's getting a standalone Sunday show here in February. Yeah,
for sure. Now there's constantly, we have Takeover, we have, granted, Super Showdown, but there's 2 shows coming up in February that are kind of big. Are we getting an Elimination Chamber? I haven't heard anything about it.
I think if we do, it's in March.
Oh yeah, it does, because Mania is usually in like April now.
Yeah. So I think that's the plan, but we'll obviously see how they go there. But definitely an enjoyable weekend. I think my match of the weekend was DIY Mustache Mountain.
For sure, mine too. If I had to do like a top 5, it'd probably be DIY Mustache Mountain, the Imperium tag, probably the 2 Rumbles, I would say, and then maybe the Cruiserweight title match from Worlds Collide.
Yeah, I didn't like the men's rumble quite as much as you, but I agree on everything else you mentioned. I would all put them near the top. But yeah, I mean, a quality weekend, definitely enjoyable. But Kev, I want to thank you for joining me and making your podcast debut with me here on the show.
Yeah, I had a good time. Hopefully we can do this more often. I enjoyed being part of it. I'm glad I got to do it on a weekend of good wrestling. I didn't get to come out here for a dumpster fire show, so that was really welcome. But yeah, this was a good time. I'm always down to talk wrestling.
All right, Kev, once again, throw out the Twitter and Patreon for everybody so they can make sure they hit you up.
For sure. The Twitter is at the Kevsta. That's the_KEVSTAAA. You got to remember those 3 A's. Patreon is patreon.com/thekevsta, spelled the same way. The Patreon, it's usually just $1 a month, help a brother out. But you get exclusive reviews, analysis. I do top 10 lists, top 5 lists. I'm planning on bringing a top 500 matches of the decade from the 2010s. That'll be out at some point during the year. So yeah, I got some big plans coming for that.
Yep, and as always, make sure you join Kevin Wednesday night as he covers NXT Live while I cover AEW Live. We always have you guys covered on there. And yeah, we'll definitely have you back on, Kev. Thank you again for your time. Greatly appreciated. And that will wrap us up for this portion of the show. All right, campers. I want to go ahead and thank Kevin for popping on and making his debut on the show tonight. It was greatly appreciated. We'll probably have him back down the line sometime. But right now, we're going to Tarantino back. It's actually about 2 a.m. Saturday morning. I finished the NWA Hard Times pay-per-view, 205 Live and SmackDown, ate a late dinner, and decided I needed to record a little audio here on the Hard Times pay-per-view. So it's going to be the late night sounds of Larry going solo here. NWA returned for their second pay-per-view under the Billy Corgan regime. Hard Times from the studios in Atlanta. And the TV title tournament was the main hook of this pay-per-view. They announced early, right away in the evening, that all the TV title tournament matches, barring the final, were going to be the 6:05 time limit. And that if for some reason they went to a draw, that there would be 3 judges to decide the winner, and those judges would be Billy Corgan, the referee of the match, and Stu Bennett, who was obviously on commentary with Joe Galli. So we started off the night, first tournament match. It was Trevor Murdoch upsetting the Question Mark 310 via pin. I was a little shocked with the result. I thought the Question Mark was going to go much farther in this tournament, actually. Thought it was a fine little opener, shocking result. Kind of thought the Question Mark was robbed, but what are you going to do? The guy's over, but they went in a different direction, so no real problem. The tournament continued on here. We had Dan Moff from ROH defeating the outlandish Zicky Dice 305 via pin. Again, they had another solid match. I thought Dan Moff was the right winner. As much as you could ask for in 3 minutes, Moff was really good here. Mostly destroyed Zicky Dice. And no real complaints about it. I thought Moff moving on was the good call. We continued on in the TV title tournament. Ricky Starks facing off with Matt Cross. And I was excited for Matt Cross to get a shot here. Again, I was shocked that he hasn't been... maybe not signed or picked up, but at least used for dates in ROH, Impact, or AEW. Really talented guy. He's 39, doesn't look it, can still go. They had a good match here. Ricky Starks beat him at just under 4 minutes via pin. And they had a good little match. They made the best of their time given Ricky Starks. I think if you listen to the preview, obviously the right call to move on. He is a young star that the promotion is taking a lot of time investing in and trying to build up into something, and I think that is a great thing. Tim Storm arrived for some interview time. They announced that Ken Anderson would not compete tonight, claiming he wasn't medically cleared. I'm not sure if there is more to that, if it's an elaborate angle. There are people speculating that the NWA aren't happy with him now. I don't know anything for sure. So right now it's just an angle, we'll call it. Tim Storm, awesome babyface, praised his NWA family of fans, hates that Anderson isn't here to compete, but he admitted again that he has a lot more behind him than he has left ahead of him, and while he doesn't want the easy path, he will take the bye here because it means he only has to win 2 matches to make Mama Storm proud and win that TV championship. Tim Storm, always a good babyface, and so he won his match by forfeit, and we moved on. Stu Bennett then had some breaking news for us. He always teases the bad news line, but this was breaking news. He said that the studio that they've been running in has been great hosts. They love them. And then announced that their next pay-per-view takes place in April, that it will be the return of the Crockett Cup, as I speculated. And while they didn't name the venue, they said it will take place in a bigger venue. I would not rule out Center Stage. ROH runs there. NXT's run there. It's a good venue. It's stage as well, and it still kind of fits into that studio format without going too big for the NWA, although I am sure that they will have some ROH assistant on the card. To this point, the crowd had been really good in the show, and that was pretty much a theme throughout. That studio is small. They packed 250 in there, I think, is what fits. And they're pretty much into everything, which gives the show a great vibe. We started off with our title matches now. NWA Tag Team Championships. Eli Drake and James Storm, as Steve Cook called on the preview, defeated the Rock and Roll Express in the wild cards. They got just over 8 minutes. They had a pretty good match. I thought it was held back a little bit by the stipulation which was 3 men in at all times, and that you could only tag your tag team partner. I thought that caused a little bit of flow and continuity issues throughout the match. Wasn't bad. Again, I thought it was pretty good. The title change, I think, most expected, but I didn't expect Drake and Storm to win so soon, but they did. And I think that's a fine call. Excuse me as I fit in some drinks here from time to time. But I think it's a good call because those guys are they're stars. They're over with the crowd. They got some promo time afterwards. Eli Drake said that on the first show he promised he would be holding gold and that anybody had it needed to watch out for him. They bantered a bit and joked about names that they could possibly called, including beer muscles and drinking buddies. But at the end of the day, Drake says it doesn't matter what you call them because they are the champions. Fun little promo. These guys are a fun duo. No problem with the title change. The Rock and Roll Express winning the titles was obviously a really fun, feel-good moment. They're guys you can still use. They don't have to be champions. They're always going to be over, despite how old they are. That crowd really likes those guys. Ricky Morton's a ton of fun. I'm sure they'll factor into the Crockett Cup again, and that makes perfect sense. So I think a good title change here, and no complaints with it. Now business picked up, as they say, with the NWA Women's Championship match. And this was the first match to really get time on this show. And in this match, Thunder Rosa defeated our champion Allison Kay at 17:20 via pin. And while I thought they had a little bit of rough edges at times, this was a really, really good match. Hot crowd throughout. I thought they gave us the right winner. They had some great near falls. I love that Thunder Rosa won. I thought she should have won. She looks like a star, walks like a star. Just everything about her has that star quality. She pops off the screen. She's so over at this point that I really don't think they're going to be able to keep her a heel for long. And we'll see how that plays out. Post-match, Melina and Marty Bell arrived to celebrate with her. The little trio stays strong. But again, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Melina reacts to, for lack of a better phrase, her underling winning the championship before her, because Melina's whole shtick so far has been that she's a great women's wrestler, she's a legend, and that she was coming for the title. But now Thunder Rosa holds it. So we will see going forward on TV if there is any dissension among the trio there. I think that could be an interesting and fun little angle. Thunder Rosa looked great here. Allison Kay worked really hard and was really good. And like I said, a little bit of rough edges from time to time. I wouldn't call it a great match, but it was really good. Easily the best thing on the show so far. And as I kind of look over my results here, I do believe this was the best match on the card. So the women stealing the night. We had some promo time next. Marty Scurll arrived to be interviewed by Joe Galli and says he was in the NWA because he wants his shot at the 10 pounds of gold he once sweet Charlotte. He said Nick Aldis is still ducking him, and he questioned what his old friend Nick was afraid of because Nick claims he already beat him and there's no threat there. But he said he's going to keep coming for Nick Aldis until he gets his shot, which of course led to our NWA champion Nick Aldis arriving. Marty basically harassed him, said he was afraid to defend against Flip tonight, and that Nick Aldis always talks about being a big game player, and said the people deserve to see an NWA title shot tonight. Aldis says, Marty's trying to talk him into the match. He was flabbergasted by the audacity that Marty could walk into his building thinking he has the stroke because this is the house that Aldis built. He makes everywhere he goes the hot ticket. He made ROH the hot ticket when he was there. Told Marty to shut up because this is the NWA. He has absolutely no stroke here. He built this house. And then he then agreed to the title shot, though. Said he will defend against Flip Gordon, and said if Flip Gordon actually wins, not only does he become the NWA title, not only will he win the NWA title, but he'll be in a position of power. But Aldis said that if he wins, all further business between him and Marty will happen on his terms. He also said that for Flip to get the title shot, that Marty Scurll would have to leave the building. Marty agreed to leave, and we had an NWA title match set for later in the evening. A good piece of business there. Both guys actually, as we all know, very good promos. And I really like how they're continuing to feud. A slow burn to Marty versus Nick. It makes sense. I will be interested to see if they jump to it during the Crockett Cup pay-per-view, because that would be a great full circle thing to go back to the Crockett Cup where Aldis defeated Scurll last year. So we will see how that works out. Obviously, no match announced, and there's still a lot to play. Aldis is going to be working the Free Enterprise show, and he's already announced for the Supercard of Honor stuff. So there's a lot of build until that pay-per-view happens. We went to the TV title semifinal matches. Trevor Murdoch continues his miracle run, defeating Dan Maff 3 minutes 10 seconds via pin. Had a solid, hard-hitting match, and Murdoch was the surprise of the evening. Danny Maff worked really hard. And again, they made the most out of the time they're given. It's hard to have really quality matches in 3 minutes. But I thought for the most part, everybody that had these short time constraints tonight did a very good job, and they tried their hardest. The next semifinal match, Ricky Starks and Tim Storm. Ricky Starks picked up the big win over babyface Tim Storm. Clean win, no chicanery by Ricky Starks. 4:55 via pin. Was pretty good, a little better than the previous matches, and I love Tim Storm, and I thought he could have had a possible run with the title, but Ricky Starks is, for me, definitely the right call as the winner. And again, if you listen to my preview, I think you'll understand why I laid it all out there. The NWA National title match was up next with Shooter Stevens defending against Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner ended up winning at 6 minutes via disqualification when the question mark got involved. This was far from a horrible match, but it was the weakest thing on the show. We got the shenanigans-filled finish. I think most people expected Steiner might win, but not win the championship. And it's okay as long as it doesn't become a habit, but definitely the weakest thing on the show. Stevens ran away after the match as Scott Steiner beat down the question mark. Shooter Stevens, piece of shit, leaving his sensei in the ring. Horrible, man. The NWA Championship match was next, and it was not the main event. NWA champion Nick Aldis defending against Flip Gordon and defeating Flip Gordon at 15:25 via pin. They had a really good match. I thought Gordon was built up enough throughout the match to look like a threat to Aldis. Aldis overcame now, and he calls the shots now in the feud with Marty Scurll due to their pre-match stipulation. Obviously, Aldis wasn't going to drop the title to Flip Gordon because that kind of ruins the whole Nick versus Marty feud. Would have been a bad call. This makes the most sense. Now you give Aldis a position of power. And again, I'm really interested to see how they play it out because Nick Aldis's ROH appearances are usually a lot of fun. He does not a lot, but he does the right things. He gets good heat. And again, they're building up to a match that could probably sell some good pay-per-views for the NWA. And at the same time, it's probably giving ROH a little much-needed positive attention following what we all know was a down 2019. So far, 2020 has been good for Ring of Honor. A lot of good signings and re-signings, talent retention, some good shows, a few great matches so far. A lot of stuff announced for Supercard of Honor. So ROH is definitely trending up so far in 2020, and I'm loving that they're back working with the NWA. I think it works great for both companies. NWA has a lot of good people involved, but they also have a limited roster, so bringing in a Danny Moff and a Flip Gordon like on this show, probably adding some teams to the Crockett Cup, and then building up the Marty and Nick, there's a lot of good things that can help both companies. I think it's just a smart move for everybody involved. And that's going to lead us to the main event of the evening. No time limit TV title tournament finals. Ricky Starks and Trevor Murdoch with the surprise finals run. And it's kind of cool that they did the Trevor Murdoch run because Trevor is a great throwback. He fits perfectly in the NWA. I was surprised by it. I thought they would probably go question mark because everything with Ricky Starks and the question mark going to the finals made perfect sense to me. They had history, they had previous angles, they did one on Power this week, and it just felt like a natural fit to build to that. But they went another direction, and there's nothing wrong with that because Trevor Murdoch worked really hard all night. And here in the finals, Ricky Starks defeated Trevor Murdoch 9-20 via pin. So, this was a good match. It was a basic, established veteran versus your young up-and-comer, and Starks taking the win as he should have. They worked hard. They made good use of the 9 minutes given to them. Crowd liked it. They were kind of into the Murdoch story, but they're also into Ricky Starks. Again, a good atmosphere all show long. And that's really important because I don't care if you have 250 fans or 25,000 fans. If there's no heat in the building, it doesn't matter. I mean, Christ, look at 205 Live. Sometimes there's some good stuff on there, but nobody cares. The crowds are dead. Look at some of WWE's bigger shows. They have giant crowds sometimes, and nobody gives a shit about half the stuff. So, I mean, I'll take a hot crowd of 250 that's into a whole show all the damn time. So I don't see why people complain about that. So that's the show as a whole. Overall, I thought NWA Hard Times 2020, first of all, it was a nice, tight 2.5 hour presentation. And as I've said before, in this era of shows that want to balloon up well past 4 or 5 hours, upwards of 6 hours and more, I greatly appreciate a good 2 to 2.5 hour show. Another reason I loved Fantastica Mania, 2 hour and 15 minute shows, good action, good matches, get in, get out, don't fuck around. So again, a tight 2.5 hour presentation. I thought the show had a really good flow of action all night long. Overall, it was really rock solid. We had some new champions crowned. We had the continued elevations of Ricky Starks and Thunder Rosa, big fans of both. They continued Aldis versus Scurll. I thought it was an enjoyable night of action. It was a good, solid show. A nice 6.5 out of 10 I gave it. And I know some people were upset about it, and they were, oh, it's a 9. It's a 9 or a 10. It was a great show. Listen, I have no problem with the show as a whole. But again, it's 2020, and this is a wrestling show. And while there wasn't anything bad, about 80% of the show was solid. There was some good, and then there was some very good. But it was mostly solid, And it didn't overall to me feel like a good or great show. That doesn't mean it was bad. There doesn't mean that there was anything wrong with this show. I just thought it was a nice, solid show. And for the most part, there's not anything wrong with that. But I will say, and I've said this a lot, it is 2020. There's a ton of competition out there. And I do feel that you need to aim for more than just solid. Now, I mean, granted, I will always take solid over bad. The show obviously didn't drag. Again, I praise the runtime. They fit a lot in. Great flow. The show flew by. I wanted some more out of the wrestling. And for me, that is the one drawback of the 6:05 time limit, especially on a show like this, because they wanted to fit in a lot of matches, and while it helped there, you're really handcuffing guys by only giving them, for the most part, 3 to 4 minutes. And I really think that you have to be really good or excellent to dig in and give anything more than solid or good in 3 minutes. It's hard to do. It's hard to get people invested. It's hard to build heat. It's hard to build a fiery comeback. And then if you go in there, conversely, if you go in there and just go boom, 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 people were complaining that all you did was spots and you didn't try to tell a story. But again, the wrestlers are put in a bad place because it's very hard to tell a story in that short a time frame. So again, there was nothing really wrong with the show. The Steven Steiner match was the weak point. The high point for me was Thunder Rosa and Allison Kay. Close second was Flip Gordon and Nick Aldis. And then again, a couple good matches mixed in there. But I thought more importantly, they made a good move in putting titles on Ricky Starks and Thunder Rosa. And I think Drake and Storm winning the tag titles is going to be good. Because that means we're going to get more Eli Drake promo time. We're going to get more matches with those guys. And they're some of the better wrestlers overall on the roster. And it'll be interesting to see how much of a run they're going to get. I hope it's not a bullshit short run and one of them quickly turns on one another. We really don't need to see that, because I think we should give these guys not necessarily a super long run with the titles, but I would like to see them stay aligned for a while and have a nice run. And we'll see how they deal with the tag titles in the Crockett Cup. Are they going to be in the Crockett Cup? Most likely, I would assume. Are the titles going to be on the line during the Crockett Cup? Because theoretically, then you could do 1 or 2 title changes during the Crockett Cup if you feel really froggy, or you could just have them make the finals and lose them in the finals, or you could have the winner of the finals earn a title shot at, say, the next pay-per-view. There's a lot of interesting things you can do. I'm interested to find out what's up with the Mr. Anderson thing, because that came off really weird. And it's not like I was super hot on seeing a Ken Anderson match in 2020. He's been fine, but I don't know what was going on there. So we will find out what happens. And so anyway, NWA Hard Times 2020, rock solid show. You may get a little more enjoyment out of it than I did, and that's fine. Again, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with a solid show. I didn't feel like my money was wasted. And again, for them, I think it's building. You have to build off of shows. You have to build the shows properly. I did enjoy Into the Fire a little more than this one. I thought that was a good pay-per-view. But, right now, you're 2 pay-per-views in, a good show, a solid show, leaning towards good. And now you have some time to build to your 3rd pay-per-view. And I'm very glad that they're not rushing to a 3rd pay-per-view in February. I'm also glad that they're avoiding WrestleMania month in March. I think that those are smart moves by the company. You don't want to overextend your audience in a really busy time of the year, and I think you should take your time to really build up to that. And the Crockett Cup could be really interesting. I'm going to be very interested to see if they pull the trigger on Nick and Marty at that show, how they're going to lay out the tournament, who else they're going to bring in. Because obviously, if you bring in ROH teams, I mean, you have a lot of good stuff. You have Mexa Blood, you have the Briscoes, you have Lifeblood that you could bring in. You could bring in a Villain Enterprises team, obviously. You could do a lot, and that could be a really interesting show. And I love the Crockett Cup, and I've talked about it 100 million times, and I even mentioned it in the Sports Illustrated interview. Yeah, I'm going to drop that one more time. I love great tag team wrestling. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to that show. I think there's a lot they can do with it. I'm not sure what direction they're going to go in, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I like being a little bit surprised. So yeah, NWA Hard to Kill, nice solid show, no real complaints. Ricky Starks and Thunder Rosa, if they play the cards right, I think they will be big stars for the company. I think they made the right move putting titles on them especially. Just really good stuff here. And so that is going to wrap us up for tonight. Again, I do want to thank Kevin for popping in and joining me tonight. It was greatly appreciated. And that's going to wrap us up for tonight. This is the 411 on Wrestling podcast. As always, you can follow us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, the 411mania.com website, any major podcasting platform. Please make sure to subscribe to our show. Share us around on social media. Leave us a 5-star review on the podcasting platform of your choice. Excuse me for getting tongue-tied. And again, make sure you punch that subscribe on YouTube. I want to get to the pay window with this bad boy. It would be greatly appreciated. Until Wednesday night, Thursday morning, I am Larry Csonka, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week.